Good evening. It is Wednesday. We're usually here on Thursdays, so we're all a little, but we're here, and we're all here, so that's good. It's April 16th. The Ashland Public Schools is committed to being at the forefront of student achievement by preparing students to be college and career ready, while promoting independence, respect, and critical thinking skills necessary to succeed as problem solvers in the 21st century. This meeting is being recorded by WACA Cable TV. Tonight, we'll start with the opportunity for the public to be heard, recognition of achievement, a student presentation by our extended day program, they'll be coming in shortly, review of the minutes. Not sure if we're going to have a student rep update this evening, maybe not.
I don't think so.
It won't be superintendent and assistant superintendent reports. Barbara's out sick tonight, but we will have a superintendent report. And I guess we'll probably skip the gifts and donations. Oh, Rich, you have them?
yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Our special topics this evening are, we are going to have a discussion and vote on the student handbooks. Welcome, everybody. A discussion and vote on the nutrition services. Hi, Lisa. Discussion and vote and review on the extended day program and fees. Discussion on the superintendent's mid-cycle review. Discussion and vote on custodial standard operating procedures. Action items and future agenda items, school committee member updates, and then we will going into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with the AAA and to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union employees and not to return to public session. And then we will adjourn. Okay, so first we'll start with the opportunity for the public to be heard, and unless one of you is a member of the public for a moment and wants to say something, we will move on to recognition of achievement.
Thanks, Mrs. Dostey. Just a couple of items. Ashland Middle School would like to recognize 8th grade student Julia Sicard. With the support of the AMS Student Leadership Group, Julia collected 16 bags of clothing from her clothing drive. All those clothes were donated to the Salvation Army and will be donated to needy Ashland and Metro West residents. Also, AMS wishes to extend a good luck to Mrs. Ames and her support and preparation for her running the Boston Marathon on Monday.
All right.
Also, Mrs. Farquharson, one of our staff members here at Ashland Middle School, has been accepted into one of the National Endowment for the Humanities landmark summer workshops. These are great programs, and she's actually heading out to the University of California, Berkeley in July. And her topic is Movement, Mobilization, and Militarization, the Bay Area Home Front in World War II. 300 to 400 folks apply each year, and 40 are accepted, so nice job to Mrs. Farquharson.
Excellent.
Thank you. Okay, next we have our student presentation from Extended Day. I know, I miss him.
Hi, guys. Welcome.
Hi.
Maybe follow them in.
By now you've probably heard the phrase, it takes a village to
Who am I? Sorry.
By now you've probably heard the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child. What philosophy better expresses the relation between the extended day program and our families?
With this in mind, this song puts into words the significance of each and every person in our lives.
It takes a village to raise a child. All together, you take your turn to sky. And as we grow and pass
That was amazing. I love the song, I love your voices, I love your faces. It was just awesome, wasn't it?
It was
beautiful.
Thank you so much. You guys did such a nice job. How long have you been practicing that?
6 weeks.
Wow.
Wow.
Paid off. That
You guys
was,
were terrific.
it was
6
professional.
weeks or 6 days?
We've had 6 practices. Yeah, we've had 6 practices, but I'm pretty sure that was only, that was in 6, like,
Once a week?
6
Well, you learned quickly then.
days.
It was
Wow.
beautiful.
Oh, that's why that's why you're so good.
Perfect. Oh, can we do it again with the pointing and clapping?
Tell me about the T-shirts.
Yeah, that's a neat.
This represents CDP.
Oh, so what are some of the pictures on there? Are those the things you do at EDP? You're on TV. Well, you guys did awesome.
It was amazing.
Terrific.
How many of you were here last year? Does anybody remember coming last year and you did the drums?
Get the drums,
But
yeah.
you did EDP last year. Is that some of you were
Yeah,
saying
some
you
of
did
you
EDP?
did, yeah. Yeah, this
great.
is one of my favorite times of the whole year is having you come in here and perform for us. Yeah.
So who taught you the song, guys? And Miss Smith.
Miss
Who
Smith.
picked the song? Who picked the song? She wrote it.
You wrote it?
Miss Smith, the music teacher at the middle school.
I see.
Wow.
Amazing.
Unbelievable.
It's just for us.
Well, I think you should record it. Yeah.
What do you say to them for having you?
Thank you. Very made our night. That was awesome.
Thank you for coming.
Great job, everybody. Thank you.
Hi. Music teacher wrote the song.
Isn't that amazing? And it's a great song. It's very catchy. I'd like a recording of that.
She wrote entire plays. She
Oh, okay.
Really great.
third grade.
Okay,
She did a
okay.
third grade musical.
So that's her.
The performances.
It's her passion.
Maybe not every week, but we should
I
have them
know.
more.
I really, and it's one of my
Yeah, that
favorite
was fun.
favorite things in the whole year.
That was pretty cool.
Nice.
They were so good.
Yeah, they were very
The only
good.
downside is now we have to review the minutes after that. I mean, seriously. Just stop right here, and that was really great. Wonderful job, and they did a great job. Okay, review of minutes. So we only have one, March 27th.
Let me see if I made any notes.
Anybody have
On
anything
here.
on those?
The only thing I had, I was going to ask Barbara, but she's not here. It really, and it's really matters whether we worry about, I know exactly what it means, but it's on page 5 when it says, after reviewing the budget, the following reductions were made. And this may be right out of the presentation, and it may be the way she put it, but the circuit breaker funding yielded savings of $75,000. Well, it's not really savings, it's that we're getting more revenue. I don't know whether that's worth rewording. That was the only thing that troubled me a
Yeah.
little bit. So,
Because it isn't savings.
yes.
You're absolutely right.
And you know what, if, I actually came up with a way that we could fix it, because if you look at lower down, where we say additional funding from revolving, we could say additional funding from
As
a
a result.
recalculation of the circuit breaker, or something like that.
Anything else? Looked good to me. Does anyone have a motion to accept the minutes? As long as there are no other,
Yeah, no other
Changes?
Amended,
comments?
I'll,
Okay.
motion as amended.
okay.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we move on. Our student rep is not here this evening, so we'll go on to our superintendent report.
Yes, and I just have a couple of things, because of course, we were just here a couple of days ago, a couple of nights ago.
Feels that way.
So Pitaway Open House, congratulations to Pitaway tonight, that was just amazing. You couldn't get a parking spot within about 10 miles of the school, and the rooms were fabulous, oh my gosh, and I know Principal Kyra was over there as well, and we were saying that marathon at the We Watch was just, oh my goodness, I don't even know how they did it, you know.
That's so cute.
But the-
Were they running, the little
Well,
ones?
apparently they did. They were calculating all their little runs, and they had this wonderful little marathon track. Oh my gosh, it was precious. But the rooms in room 4-2 with all of the Boston Red Sox players, with all of the children's faces, oh my gosh. Anyway, hats off to everyone at Pitaway. It was just fabulous. I don't know if anyone noticed, but, and we're still having a few glitches here, but the new website is up and live.
Oh.
And so I know last night I went on a couple of times, and I would go into the old site, and then I would go onto the new site, but we're still working on that. But it is up, it is going live, and we're just thrilled. And I know I already got some community feedback, like, this is fantastic, and loving the calendar, love this, and so got some really positive feedback today about it. So really thrilled, and special thanks to Ann Canton, who, as you know, put a lot of work into this, and of course, the rest of the IT team as well, because they picked up so that she could do the work that she had to do on that, so we'd want to mention that. And of course, the AFI Gala the other night, Friday night, you could not help but be in there and just feel such Ashland pride. Like, it was just so palpable, and I know several of you were there in attendance, and I just thought it was first class, the whole thing, from beginning to the end. It was just a first-rate evening, and I know the numbers aren't official yet, but they're strong and healthy, and they look fantastic. So hats off to everyone that took part in that. It was a huge undertaking. And that's it for me this evening.
Mr. Lynn?
I just have one thing. Working really hard with some area towns on some professional development opportunities and in-service opportunities for Ashland, to work with Holliston and Hopkinton and Medway and Millis and Franklin, trying to create opportunities that maybe on our own we couldn't do, either based on available resources or whatever. But some really nice things are coming together that I hope to be able to report out in the next hopefully a couple of weeks, but, at least next month or so, that I think are pretty exciting for us to work with other districts and pull in their expertise and then share our own. So some pretty neat stuff that we're working on.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
And this is aside from the accept. This is us working collaboratively in a different venue. Would that be a good way of saying that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's very exciting with what we see on the horizon with this, so we're very excited about it.
And Mr. Lynn, did you want to go right into gifts and donations?
Sure. Have a few of those. We have a gift from Framingham Union Aid Association. Is this a grant? Or is it? Yes. It's a grant, yeah. For our nurses, Audrey LaCroix, for $985. Then we have for an audio meter. Not sure exactly what an audio meter is, but Audrey's getting that. And then for our food services folks from Framingham Union Aid, Vitamix to mill gluten-free, not sure what the last word is, at Pitaway. So maybe Lisa knows more about that, but that's for $637. And then we have an anonymous donor to, it looks like our athletic department, Ryan Quigley, for $900 for middle school softball uniforms. So those are the 3 gifts and donations.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And just quickly, before we move on to our special topics, an update on, for anybody in the school committee or in town that was planning on coming out to the State of the Town address last night, for either those of you who were wondering why it was scheduled on the second night of Passover or why it didn't happen, it was because that it was scheduled on the second night of Passover, and we realized that conflict very late. And as soon as we did, we certainly did what we could to make sure that, out of respect to our friends in the Jewish community, that we did not step out on a night that was going to exclude them from being able to attend, and also out of respect for not holding event on an evening that's important to people in our community. We hope to get out the information that the schools were going to present some other time and some other way, so anybody who's looking for that information, we're going to do our best to find the best way to get it to you. And if anybody has any questions about it, they can certainly ask any one of us, or I don't know if anybody has anything they want to add.
I would add that I think, I'm happy with the outcome. I think it was important that that date was changed. I mean, it's unfortunate that we're not going to be able to reschedule the event, it sounds like, but I think folks did the right thing. So it's important that we respect every member of our community.
Yeah, I agree. I think we did do the right thing. I prepared some, just a written remarks that I'd like to have entered into the minutes, if I could. And just get a minute to just say these remarks.
Sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to publicly acknowledge all the parents and the Jewish community leaders who reached out to the Ashland School District and Town Hall offices to express their concern over the date of the State of the Town meeting. I also want to acknowledge the town, and especially the school district leadership, for listening to this community's outreach, hearing their message, and responding in a religiously and culturally sensitive and appropriate manner. I think in the grand scheme of things, Ashland democracy, through its local government, did what was ultimately the right thing to do under the given circumstances by canceling the State of the Town meeting. I believe being responsive to parents, being responsive to taxpayers, and being responsive to the voters who put us in office is what all elected and appointed officials are called to do. I want to express my deep respect and appreciation for the town manager and the Board of Selectmen. Governing in America at any level of government, local, school district, state, or federal, is sometimes messy, never easy, but always worth the sweat and sacrifice each of us chooses to make to enable American democracy. As a town, Ashland has a bright and exciting future ahead. New energy, ideas, and opportunities are reshaping almost everything in town, from the top of the Ashland rooftops to the end of the Route 126 corridor. Personally, I feel privileged to be counted among its elected leaders at this moment in time. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
Nicely done.
That was great. You've got my vote. That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anyone else? You all good? Okay, so moving on, we will start with our special topics, and we have the student handbooks on the list. Are we going in any special order, Mr. Lynn?
We're not, unless there's a need from our administrators in terms of
Anybody need to
anybody
get
trying
going?
to get somewhere. No. So we have the middle school, we have Warren, and we have Pitaway twice. They have their preschool handbook and their We Watch handbook. So why don't we go with the middle school to start? I have two small addendums for the middle school handbook that were you know how the books are obviously the district sections are what the ones you saw last week were. Again, the setup is the same with your the links within the school-based sections are tabbed for you. These are actually additional pieces to that are not tabbed that Mrs. Deneen will point out. They're just pieces that they were finalizing that I did not get into the printing in time when your packets went out last Wednesday, a day early on me. So I apologize for those not getting in a more timely way, but I want to give them time to do the right things in terms of the wordsmithing and the final edits they wanted to make to those two small pieces. So with that, I will turn it over to Mrs. Deneen.
Well, thank you. First of all, I have to say it's a pleasure to be here to share this document. A lot of hard work went into it, not just by myself, but through our site council, our teachers, the secretaries that work with me. A lot of hands put this document together, and I want to make sure that they are acknowledged and thanked for that help. I could not have done it alone. The handbook that you have before you, what we basically have done is we've taken the old and we've made a lot of, there's a lot of grammatical corrections that needed to be done. So we basically tightened it up. We tightened it up, we made it more concise and a little bit more accessible to parents. So the document that you had before presented by Rich Lind is basically, consistent with all of them. However, what we did at the school is we've kept some of the things that were working. We made a little changes of things as the, education has evolved a little bit. So we've had to do some things to that piece. So first, what we did is we took a peek at the homework policy. And basically, it is the same. However, we made it so that a parent and a student could really read it. We put it in bullets. We made it clear and concise. And again, that's a section that's basically the same as in the past, but much cleaner. And I think there were sections of it that were redundant. So we took those out and we put it all as one. So that, and we also added in that same homework section what we're doing at school to help students that are having some difficulty maybe completing homework or getting workload done. So that section includes our response to intervention team right in it. So what we do there is we talk about students that might be struggling and try to find ways to tier support to give them a little more extra help. And I have to say that our team has been very successful this year, and we're giving kids the things that they need. The next piece that I'd like to share with you that has a different appearance is it's linked completely to our PBIS program. Is the progressive discipline plan. Did a little research on other school systems that have PBIS and how they take the discipline piece of it, because PBIS is basically the positive lens and producing positive results in schools. Well, sometimes, particularly middle schools, we make mistakes, and we like to learn from those mistakes. So instead of going right to the biggest thing, we're progressing it. So we have 3 levels here. They follow right along with PBIS, and we've even included a link that will go to the minor reference sheets the teachers have, which they keep track of in the classroom, and that doesn't necessarily mean they come to the office, but they try some strategies within the classroom. So I think this progressive discipline plan, I think it's going to be a great tool for teachers, a great tool for parents to really understand what we're doing to help students who make those little mistakes along the way, and actually help me in the office too, so that the expectations are clear. There's not a room for different opinions. It's factual there. So I really like the product that we produced, and again, the school council did have a little piece of this as well, and teacher input. The next piece that has a little bit of difference is our dress code policy, kind of modeling the high school a little bit, getting the students ready for that. However, teachers met and they really wanted some pieces that's very specific. So you'll notice that in the clothing guidelines, there are very specific pieces to that. And then on the next page, it does tell you the order of what will happen to a child, so that they're not wondering what's going to be. So hopefully, again, we're going to work with them and work on that piece. Another change that we had adapted, this was based a lot on site council, but also to a very important piece, and that's the Metro West data that we had. And that Metro West data really pointed out that students are having a lot of trouble with cyberbullying. And we felt that if, we control that cell phone in school a little bit more, that maybe that would prevent some of that, because the former policy that we had, it was really hard to monitor what was going on. And by reducing the usage in the school, with this new policy, we're hoping that it will help a little bit with that piece as well. So it is a little different, and I think we're going to try it. It might need to be tweaked next year, but we're going to give this one a try and see how it goes. And the students that still may need that electronic device for lunch, for soothing, and it might be part of what they need, we'll make those accommodations as needed. Because I know there are some students that might still need that, but we'll talk about that later. But
Mrs. Deneen, just a clarification. If a teacher finds an activity or a part of their lesson plan, the students can still use it, that's correct?
Right, that's still in there. For
Awesome.
example, a lot of them use it for calculators. They're very good calculators on it, so that's part of the plan too. But then
Awesome.
again, we have very specific order of, so it's clear. And I think, particularly with middle school kids, they can't read between the lines. It's got to be right out there, simple, very simple. And, you know, hopefully, once this is, if it's passed and approved, we can get a little input from the kids, and next year maybe do a little survey as to what they think of it as compared to the past year. So I think that might be our current 7th grade, that might be able to help us with that. And then finally, we've been doing a lot of work with attendance and getting students to school. That's based a lot on the workshop I took in the fall with the Attorney General. We did clean that page up a great deal, and really made it specific again, so that there would be no wondering what it is. It's right there in the document. So basically, that is our handbook. And again, the site council, there was a lot of parents that really read it thoroughly and made a lot of adaptations, so hopefully the parents will like the changes that we've made.
Anybody?
Couple questions. So, I'm flipping to this page here.
Okay.
I love pictures, I love pyramids, I love colors. This is all good. There's monthly assemblies where we teach core values, recognize our AMS super students, and showcase student talents. Is it possible, I don't know if others have already attended one of these, is it possible for?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you're welcome at any.
I'd love to come to one of those
Right.
monthly
They are fun.
assemblies and just
They are, and,
be a
you know-
fly on the wall and see how it goes.
Absolutely, absolutely. We
I'd love
haven't
to.
had them
You
as
can go 'cause
monthly
you don't have a
this
kid in
year
the school.
because of, there was extra testing that came up on the plate, but, and some weather, but that canceled some of them, but by all means, it's a celebration. It's almost like
Oh,
a
I'd
pep
love to.
rally. So you're more than welcome to come.
We went to something last year, Marcia.
I know, I
remember?
was joking, because you really shouldn't do it when you have kids in the school, because
Right,
they give you
'cause
the
Right.
look.
Why
But
are
we
you
did, Lori
here?
and I
Right.
did.
You have another year or two, Mark, before you're in trouble. Yeah.
And just, let's see, it's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Roughly how many students are in the middle school?
Well, every day we grow. And we kids start the year with 535, and I think we're up in the 40s now. We do lose a few here and there.
Okay, so.
But just over 550 now, so it's growing.
550.
It's growing quite a bit.
Wow.
Yep, people are hearing about us, I think, and
Nice. Doing such great work there.
Like hearing
Gina?
that.
Just a couple of questions, but I think they're broader. There might be for Mr. Lind, which is, I think we previously discussed, I forget who brought it up, about school cancellation. And were we going to add that the website was a source?
I'm gonna do there's a few tweaks that I had spoken about last
Okay.
week that we're finding out as more eyes get on in those district sections.
Okay.
So instead of doing a piecemeal, I'll do one thing.
Okay.
Sort of once we get through this, maybe pick a meeting with a few less agenda items, and we can update them all, those small things, like you mentioned,
Okay.
that one.
And then just one other item, just coming off of Safety Committee, and I think this applies, I went back through some of the other handbooks, regarding the expectations of and safety measures for walkers and riders. And we talk about the bus a lot, and the pickup policy and drop-off policy, but we have some students who walk, and I know we have certain, places, especially, I know, a little bit familiar with the Mendez, what route they're supposed to take when they leave the school so they're safe from people who are, pulling into the driveway to pick up.
Okay, we can add something on that.
Section about the
Absolutely.
walker.
Did you say
I
the
still
more?
had a couple
You
more.
keep
Oh, I'm
going.
so
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
It was my fault, I called on you.
I'm still on this page.
The colors.
Just give me a snapshot of, in time, of, I'm looking at the tertiary prevention and the secondary prevention groups. Like just last week or so, I mean, what are the numbers of students that are in those groups?
we have a very low incident of.
My guess is, yeah.
It's very low, and in fact, a handful. In fact, most of the students come to my office to share with me some things that they think might not be that, that's going on. So we really don't have a lot of disciplinary issues. I think we've had maybe two or 3 days of after-school detentions and things like that. So we don't have a lot. We tend to, if a child is having a an issue, we tend to use more guidance counseling
Sure.
and more social worker and, teacher and providing we've been using a lot of success plans. So we don't really have a lot of students in that category.
That's 550 students and only
Yeah.
a small handful, so
Yeah,
that's
and truthfully,
great numbers.
those that are, I said, they're on what's called the success plan, and it's basically highlighting what we expect. And then students that have a little trouble distinguishing it, we put it in writing and let them see it, and they get little stars and things, and they like that.
Excellent.
Just to kind of follow up with your question, Mr. Lawson, in general, this sort of RTI approach, you can think of it as kind of a 5%, 15% for that, the top level, the red, in general, and 15% for that next level down, and then
Very helpful.
your other students from there. What Mrs. Deneen's describing is that whole RTI process in the behavioral area, you see kids start to go down a road that maybe is making poor choices, put in a plan, and stop them before they get to that red sort of figure, or that red section of that chart. So it's really intervening through a response to intervention process, setting up a plan with interventions and follow-up and incentives, and making sure that everybody from the team of teachers to the guidance folks to the office folks all sort of are in the loop and can support the student getting where they need to be.
Keep in mind that RTI and PBIS dovetail very nicely.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like it very much. Yeah. And they're new to Ashland, right? But are they new practices in education?
I don't think I would call it brand new, but to be honest with you, in some ways new to us. Mind you, the high school, I think this is year 5 for the high school, is it not? I think, Mr.
Yeah.
Jerome,
Okay, so
well, year
new.
5 for them.
Okay.
But somebody like Mendez last year was our first full
Yeah.
year of rolling it out. So, and I think this is really your second really full year here at AMS. So I think we're kind of all at different stages, and I know, Warren School really went after it last year. So, but is it a brand-new model to education? Not really.
Yeah.
I think the new part of it in the
it's-
last, oops, excuse me.
I love the title of it, positive behavior.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the new part of this, is that it's more of an organized approach where you're collecting data. So you heard Mrs. Janine said, the teachers have this minor and they're keeping track. So now they can actually say, how many times has this behavior occurred? And start to use that data to say, what kind of programs do we need to address? Kids doing this in the hallway, or doing that. And so then it becomes more of a positive approach. Instead of catching kids after they did it,
Right.
we're teaching kids before not to do it.
And the monthly meetings are throughout the district. So if you can't catch one at the middle school, you can always catch one at Warren or Mendez or, so just keep that in mind. So we can,
Yeah.
I heard Mr. Lind actually just say, we should probably we can send them out to you and so that you can take a look at them and come and join a couple if you'd like to see
I'd
some.
love to, very much. Clothing guidelines, this is really for our policy experts at the table. Do we have a policy regarding clothing? Okay, so this is.
Yeah.
This is in response to a need. I mean, the 6 Bs. I mean, I've never heard of those, but that sounds
I brought that from
spot
high school.
on. No, this is.
I didn't invent that. I actually took that from the high school.
Did you?
Yep. Thought we'd keep it consistent between the two buildings.
And I think you'd see that if you look at the Mendez book and the high school book, you're going to see the middle school book have a hybrid sort of
That's what's.
pieces to it,
so
where
good.
we're
Yeah.
trying to take outgoing fifth graders and induct them into this school, but also have the same rules in place for kids that are going to leave here and go to a ninth grade. It's a challenge,
Yeah.
and I think they did a great job.
And
Yeah, this
I'm sorry. And again, you would see the building of the continuum from the Warren School all the way through, which is, time and again, we're saying that to you. This is another one of those examples.
And I was going to save this for later, but since it's kind of on that topic, because of the clothing, first of all, I was wondering like how you come up with these things, and it sounds like you got it from the high school, for instance, and maybe they got it from, who knows, another school, but do you ever sit down as a group and talk about like whether it's working, is it being applied consistently? And I'm saying it recently I read this great article about I thought it was great, and maybe not everybody would agree with it, but it had something to do with, like, we're worried about whether our kids are wearing yoga pants when there are shooters coming into schools and kids in, hospitals and all these real problems that we have, and we're worried about what they're wearing, kind of thing. And so how often do you sit down and see whether it's making sense? Like, are kids getting in trouble too much so that it's interfering with their education? The process, I'm asking more about the process, not what you think about the
Well,
clothing.
we go to Job Alike, so we sometimes sit down with other assistant principals. Dave goes with principals, and we talk about it to see what's out there. And we share and we borrow. However, when you have a student that comes up and says, would you please tell them to change, Mrs. Deneen, I don't know where to put my eyes.
Yeah.
That's coming from the students. So you have to protect everyone. People need to feel safe in school and be able to put their eyes anywhere they want to.
Yeah.
So I understand what you say about.
Well, I'm more interested in the process. Like, do you sit down together and say,
Yeah, this went through teachers. This has gone through the teachers, and even some of it is a little different than the high school because they wanted specifics so that they stop a student. It's very clear, and it's not just, what is appropriate and inappropriate. It's very specific to the
but do you
way
find that it gets applied consistently?
Well, this is new.
Okay.
The one we have right now is very open to anyone's interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it very difficult to reinforce.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully with this new policy, it's specific and clear. And the parents that did read it said that, they really wanted to know. That was the biggest thing that said, we would like to be notified. So there was a lot of discussion, a lot of data that we used to change that.
And I just think, when there's changes like that from an administrative perspective, now it's going to be incumbent on Mr. DiGirolamo and Mrs. Deneen to work with their teacher leaders and their whole entire staff so everybody calibrates. I mean, we keep hearing the word calibrate a number of different things, but I think that consistency about how it's applied is just an ongoing sort of discussion that will happen at team level and grade level and various groups.
And the thing that I heard was the buy-in from the parents. It sounds like you worked very closely with the parents. You responded to a need the parents had for direction on, okay, what is acceptable and not, and now it's very clear.
Right, and a lot of parents had stated the high school is so easy to understand. So that's what we did. And then we made it the middle school. We made a few little changes.
Yeah.
And just to put a plug in for the consistency piece, is the parent who, is out at the store saying, you can't buy that, because sometimes there's literally shorts, you can't find a pair of shorts that would meet, right? And you just can't.
Right.
So you're saying you can't buy them, and then the child says, this is what everybody wears, and you're sitting there thinking, so to know, I think that's gonna be really critical, because, I'm always happy to enforce.
Right.
It's just,
Well, I think you're going to see that.
you get into a tough spot.
In fact, I think our attendance policy is how we really use it as a tool. It's a working document, and how I think the numbers of attendance of absences have really gone down a lot this year because we're reinforcing it. And I've made it even easier to understand now.
Yes, I think you have.
So it's been, we've noticed because of the consistency with that, kids are coming to school. We've worked with the nurse on students that had like asthma. I brought the parent in, we had a meeting. I said, why would you keep the child home for asthma? We have a nurse here that can check, the blood gases and provide assistance, whereas on the couch, cannot. So we've got a lot more kids coming to school, and attendance is good because we've been consistent with it. I'm looking forward to applying it here as well.
You all set?
Yes, thank you.
So I'm going to go right to, first of all, I have to open with the idea that, I've said it last week, but you folks weren't here, that I'm loving these new handbooks. I'm loving that, and again, we talk about consistency, and another one that occurs to me is very many families have children in different schools. And it's not just for the one child moving through, but for the idea that these things are applied consistently. So, and the rewriting to make it more clear, I look at this, one of my lenses is the school committee piece, but also as a parent who read these every year, and I'm loving them. So these comments are sort of, all kind of to me, the small stuff. First of all, the cell phone stuff I had as a question, so I was so happy to see you sent it out. On that, though, where you have, in the third paragraph, and I just am asking, it says, students are not permitted to take pictures with their cell phones on school property or at school-sponsored events without permission from administration. Is that realistic? I mean, this is like at a softball game after school. Are you guys going to be
I
trying to?
think that would be, can we take pictures, Coach? Sure. You know, I think it's.
That's like for the
And like for
team
the
or for the
dance.
spectators? Or, you see, I'm just feeling like that might be, and again, it's something you can, I'm just putting it
Well,
out
the
there for
thing
you to
is
think
this,
about.
this is what we didn't want to see. We have students that aren't supposed to be photographed,
Yeah.
right? So if we allow a photograph to be taken at a dance, and the students don't ask, we cannot say, you know, we don't know what's going to happen to that picture. And there it is in the Ashland Middle School cafeteria. So I would prefer the children to feel safe enough to come and ask us, and then they can take the picture, but just make sure that that student isn't in there.
Right.
Because you don't know what's going to happen to
And
them.
I absolutely can see that as a dance, and I understand why you
Right,
need
a
it.
dance,
I
softball,
just,
same
there's
thing on
gotta
the
be some
softball
things, yeah.
You know, we have parents that, you know, even with yearbook this year, so it's gone to a different level than maybe we're used to.
Fair
So
enough.
therefore, again, it's the way society is looking at things, and try to listen to, you know, the voice.
Yeah, it's a tough one, because, I mean, the trend with phones on everything makes this,
Even for us as we're tweeting, we don't tweet anything out until we've run it past the schools.
Right.
So we've already got the approval. If it goes past me, it's hit the approval already. But, so you're right. I mean, with all of that kind of stuff, you don't know where those pictures are going to end up. So, I mean, I understand the question, though, because you do want to look at it and say, realistically, can we do this? However, I also understand, we have students out there and parents that don't want their pictures out there. So I absolutely understand why this is in there.
Well, there's a
But-
side, just I'll say too,
yeah,
can I just,
sure.
the cyberbullying piece is an interesting piece too.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, we had the MARC program come in and they talk about, you know, once somebody takes that photo of you, you know, now with Facebook and all the modes
Right.
of social media, that picture can be
You can
anywhere and
Photoshop it, you can do
everywhere.
crazy things
Oh,
to it. yeah.
absolutely, I know.
But I will say, Marcia, it's a huge challenge, and we've, I think, you know, Beth obviously done a great job with it, but we're trying to take that challenge on at the middle school, just providing the presentations for parents we did this year and for students. So we're starting the process and we're trying to figure these things out because it's a huge challenge to try to control something that sometimes you feel is.
Well, and that would be the legal question that I would just put out there is, you know, there are some places you don't have an expectation of privacy, and I know these are school grounds, so I just don't want us, and maybe this, it is a legal thing, but I don't want to create an expectation for something that we can't do. You really can't be expected to control every picture that a kid takes. They do it with their cameras, you know, and so I just, that's what I'm concerned about, is putting an expectation on you
Right.
that's not reasonable. You're not going to be able to stop that.
No, I think
so,
it's a great point.
Yeah.
No, and just hopefully the students will be comfortable to ask. And
Yeah.
if we say yes and it's controlled, they'll be more inclined to ask as opposed to try something that they know they shouldn't be doing,
Yeah.
I
hopefully.
think when you get into the legal aspect, sometimes telling people that it's not allowed, if someone does something that is inappropriate with it, from a principal's perspective, someone can't come back to you and say, well, it never said it that you couldn't do that. And so you sometimes get into this.
I see.
what
Right,
was the
right.
rule?
One way
It's
of
never
looking at it.
cleared
That's
up.
right. Right.
So if it's in here and a picture's taken and nothing bad happens with it, no one's going to chase down, I don't think Mr. DiGirolamo and Mrs. Dini are chasing people down saying there was a picture of a dance that was completely appropriate, but if a parent calls them or a kid comes in and says, my picture was posted here and it was, you know, something that was really negative, then they can follow up with it and was done at the school dance or wherever
I
and say,
understand.
it is very clear in the handbook that that's not appropriate, not allowed, and violates a rule. So it gives administratively the opportunity to address a situation where perhaps without something written in there, you could. And that's often how it happens. You hear about
Yeah.
it after the fact,
yeah.
unfortunately. But I
like
think you're right.
anything,
Yeah,
though,
I
so
think
much
that
is
might
about
be.
communication, because as soon as you said about kids, having not signed the waiver, it's a privacy thing for other kids. At first, I might have thought, well, it's my camera, I'll do what I want with it, but if you communicate that it gives a whole new understanding to what you're trying to accomplish. And I think every opportunity that you can use, like, it sounds like you're already doing it, the assemblies and the open houses, and to explain to people why, or even with the kids understand it. Some of them are going to be respectful of that if they know about it and understand it.
But I just had an image, though. I happened to be at the Mendez Assembly today, and there were adults at that assembly taking pictures.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Well,
It's a tough
Well,
one.
I do think the reality of the people reading every word in the handbook, I probably shouldn't say that out loud because they're supposed to before they sign it. But seriously, like if there's 100 people at a football game or whatever, they're not going to remember that they're not supposed to take a picture without permission. So it is, the enforcement piece is a little tricky, but I understand why we at least need to comment on it.
I would say
From a
if you
perspective.
asked our administrators, especially at the upper levels, the majority of issues that come forward regarding this are brought forward by the student who was wronged in some way, or one of their
Yeah,
friends.
I understand the concern. I don't mean to minimize that. So some of my little things are quick. And they're, again, from my parent lens, one of the things you do at the middle school that I love is you have that table where if your kid forgot their lunch, you don't have to go in and pull them out of class, you can drop it on the lunch. And I don't know that you mentioned it in here.
I probably should have actually, because we've changed it.
Oh.
They fill out a slip, and I actually bring it in a little cart down to the cafeteria, and we write it on the wall.
Even better.
We write it on the wall, and the kids,
So-
they
saying
were
that
leaving
procedure
bologna
should be-
sandwiches there for
Something
days.
about, yeah, there you go. I mean, I just love,
All right.
it's sort of,
Yeah.
the lunch piece is part of it, but it's the musical instrument they forget or whatever. And it goes back to, it was connected to me to the cell phone piece. And again, these are all just comments I'm putting out there.
That might be something.
Sometimes if a
Parent
kid
info.
forgets something, that could really mess up their day at that age. And the ability to be in touch with their parent and, and they have their cell phone and, if they sneak into the bathroom, they're going to be texting their parent, which I know is not ideal. But I guess if there's something in here about it, that a child can maybe come to the office, that's okay, or whatever it is sort of that you want them to do, because it is important to them. And then the fact that you have this parent drop-off, I think, for parents is a really nice piece of information for them. So that was a note I had. The other note I had was about, this is about the sick day, and this is me just putting stuff out there, because I totally get why you have this, but I want to tell you how it works as a parent for me. It's on the bottom of, under makeup policy, and it says, if previously announced, students are expected to make up exams or submit projects, term papers, or homework the first day the student returns to school. So as a parent, what happens is you had a kid who's homesick for the last 3 days, they haven't gotten out of bed, they've been throwing up, whatever it is, and they're finally better, and they say, I can't go to school today, I have a test. Or I have a project due, and I haven't done it because I've been sick for 3 days. And then you have to either send them in to do really poorly on the test, or give them another day when you know they could be, doing all the other things they should be doing in school. Now, I get why you don't want kids to miss something and use absences as a way to extend it. But somewhere, I feel like, and again, putting it out there for you to think about. I've had kids who are healthy, and I'm sending them to school because they're healthy, knowing that they're walking into something that they're not ready for, because they've been out. So that was that comment. I think I had just one other thing. This is like, again, just a quickie. Under minor behavior reference sheet, and I'm not sure exactly what this is, but I saw cheating, which I was like surprised to see as minor. And then in your other page, it's listed as a second thing, not minor. So it's a level 2.
This minor reference sheet is part of the PBIS for teachers, and I think it's the first gentle reminder. That's how I'm taking it, but if it's a major offense where it's really, the child has a definite privilege over someone else. I think this is, I have to be honest with you, I wasn't here when they invented this sheet, and I'm not going to interpret it for myself, but
Yeah.
I know that the major offense of cheating where there's a definite, you have a definite advantage, then it goes to that other level.
I see. I just wanted to, then the only other, this is, then I'm done. again, as a parent, one of the things that's really helpful, if you don't know, and again, where this is a living document now, you might not be able to do this in a time when we're hiring people at the end of summer or people change. But it's really nice if you know the name of the secretary at the school and you know the name of the guidance counselor and the nurse. And I know you can kind of get on the website and find them, but it might be nice to have those kind of listings in here. There was a time when they, like, listed all the staff at each, like, I know the middle school at least did, the handbooks were all different. But they had a listing of grade 6 teachers, grade 7, and it's kind of nice. It creates that sense. It might be too much trouble, but
If you go, there's actually a link that will say like teacher web pages and you can get that, but it is a little bit more tricky. It's a little trickier, but it's there.
Yep.
I'm wondering if you would want me to consider adding at the front end
Front page.
a link to our staff listing. Or, in somewhere on this sort of page,
I mean, I don't know how other
putting
people feel, but
secretaries,
it's always
nurses,
nice
and
when you know the
guidance.
nurse,
And
right,
that
you know
gets
the
busy.
name. Yeah.
I was just worried about it getting real busy on this front page.
Absolutely, whatever you think, it's just a comment, but my last comment, and it's actually in something I had asked about before, and I've noticed it in both the preschool and the We Watch program, there's a statement on confidentiality, which again is something as a parent, I really like to see that. And it's a reminder to everybody that we operate in an environment of confidentiality, and Pat's got a nice little confidentiality plan, I think is what you call it. So, again, just a comment for all of them, I think it's a nice piece. But other than that, I do love the new book, and I can see all the places that you really reworded and came out great. Thank you.
Did you have some questions, Kathy?
I did, I think it might be more, I do have some, but I think maybe it's for all the
Okay.
handbooks. Well, in the middle school one, the site council paragraph, this is what started me thinking, the Ashland Middle School Site Council. I was thinking maybe that should be expanded more, to explain it more. And then I was reading the Warren School and the Pittaway School. I like the wording there,
From which one?
Warren and Pittaway. And then I thought, well, gee, maybe that should be consistent on all of them.
Oh, here it is, page
And is it
14.
consistent, like I know in the high school one, I went back to that one, it spells out, I think, I don't know, 3 teachers.
You're asking, is it
and-
consistent what they all do?
Yeah, is it
And how they're all
consistent?
made up,
Is the site council, the makeup of the site council, is that consistent?
Like how many members and
Yeah.
that kind of thing?
How many parents, how many
It's
teachers?
specified in law and then repeated in our policy.
It's
Not by
specified.
number, but by
Right,
role.
they actually
Well, I
have
was
to
just
be even.
thinking,
Yes.
maybe that should be consistent on all of them, in all the handbooks. And I'm sorry I didn't pick up on that last
All
week
right,
when we
see,
approved.
as more I see it, we
Yeah.
see
But,
these
Yeah.
little things. So
Yeah.
what I'm doing, again, is I'm collecting the district-wide stuff, and I
okay.
can
I
bring it back in
did
one
like how it
shot.
was worded on the Warren and the Pittaway.
Yeah, you like
Yeah,
that.
it is nicely done.
I put that down. Okay.
Let's see. And then I just had some graphic things, but maybe you and I could talk about that later.
We'll talk graphics.
Some
Graphics
font sizes
meeting.
and things like that.
Yeah.
And just, I'm sorry to come back to me one more time. I'm
No,
sorry.
please, that's what we're here
It goes
for.
back, and this is, again, this is probably more for me to hear myself say it, and it's written into the law this way. The term disabilities,
In
is
what
there another
context?
term? Is there another term for dis?
What page are you on?
Oh, I'm just looking at page 6
Okay.
of the elementary school, just as an example. Procedures for disciplining students with disabilities. And I think that's the way the law is written. It's the Disabilities Act, right?
That's really the word
It-
that I see most
Yeah,
often. I
yeah.
certainly can research what other
No, I don't
schools
think
might
there,
be
I mean, I think the
using,
law
but-
is written in that way, and the differently abled is another way of saying it. That's the only,
I think it might have a legal context, though.
it does. I
in
mean, if
this
that's the way
one.
the law is written, I
Yeah,
just, I bring it out there because it just,
It sticks out like that, doesn't it?
yeah. Differently abled is another term, but again, the law is written that way. Until the law changes, nothing we can do.
while we're on that, actually, it's a small thing, but I think this is probably taken from somewhere that's generally addressed
Page 6.
to, yes, same section. It's addressed to parents of students with disabilities, right? I mean, and it's just kind of placed here. I don't know the easy way to do it, but it gets a little awkward because if you look at the fourth line down, the school may suspend or remove your child from his or her current placement. That's a very specific your child, a parent with a disability, and I'm not sure that, and it kind of, you could kind of keep reading, and it's this whole section is somehow needs to be set apart, is that this is, and I know the title does it, but I don't think as you're reading, especially where it's so long, that you get to the next page, and I think parents could easily not realize you're referencing, your child. This document is read by all parents, and yet that's not really,
So
those
he's-
rights don't apply to every child.
Right.
So if there's a way to sort of just make a note or change that language to say a child on an IEP, or, whatever the more specific.
And it's a different thing to be on an IEP than to be covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act. But the ADA, the part of it too is knowing who falls under that.
Well-
Because you don't have to be on an IEP or 504 or anything to be considered, like some forms of mental illness or depression, for instance, can fall under the ADA. And if we're using that definition, if we're using that word to mean the legal definition of disabilities, then you've got to be aware of all the different conditions, that it's not just necessarily
So it's
the
the
obvious
504
ones,
piece.
but there could be some, people that qualify, they have disabilities, but they're not necessarily on an ed plan or in any way obvious. So part of it is, if we're going to use it, we have to know.
Well, one suggestion, which I had actually noted last week and didn't say, but if you look at if we're all looking at that first paragraph, the last sentence in that paragraph almost feels like if that was the first sentence, it would take care of it all the way down. Special provisions are outlined below for students with a documented disability who have, because that, I think, takes care of
Well, right, especially
all the
it's
rest of this.
documented.
And it's there, but it comes after, even some of the other language about your child and his current placement, which, again, not every child's.
I like that idea of moving
Yeah.
it to the top, because I think it's.
It's
so-
kind of
it's very-
highlighting
yeah.
it, I'll leave that to our graphic person, but in some way to highlight that this is, really applies to the
To
section
this,
below.
yeah.
So. Thank you for bringing that.
Do you have more?
Well, just-
Yeah, it's last time I didn't say
Mr.
it.
DiGirolamo, I asked Mr. Adams last week if he had it on his list of things to do to write the letter. Are you gonna add your letter in here? You have the letter, excellent.
Attaboy, Mr. D.
We love the letters.
Okay, good, yeah.
We have it, yes.
Okay,
She's got your back.
that was it.
That's great. Anybody else for the middle school handbook? Okay.
Thank you
so-
for
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Great.
We
Thank
know
you.
that it's
Very
been a
nice.
months-long
We do.
effort, and yet you put a
Months,
lot
right.
of time into it, and we really appreciate it. And it's looking like it was, time well spent, because we're thrilled with the
Yeah, we are.
updated. Okay,
So
Warren?
next we have Mrs. Condon from Warren to present the
Hello.
Warren handbook.
Good evening. First of all, I would also like to thank the site council at our school. They very carefully reviewed the document and offered thoughtful comments for revisions. Some of the revisions I've made, but they also had reflected on some of the district pages, and so I have shared with Mr. Lind some of their recommended revisions that he'll share with you at a later date. Also, I received teacher input from members of the site council who are on the faculty. Secretaries in the central office provided editorial support. Of course, Principal Kyra gave his input. So with our handbook, pretty much the content that was in the last issue is still here. So I didn't really alter the content that much, but I really tightened it down, made it a lot more explicit. We were all, to stay within a certain page limit, and with it being the first school of formal education, I felt a real need to go into detail as far as bus procedures, pickup, parent involvement, volunteerism. So really trying to maintain and preserve those things. So I didn't really go beyond. So I'll kind of step through the handbook with you. You should see a welcome letter from Principal Kyra.
Very nice. I like your letter, Mr. Kyra.
Citizens of Warren School and citizens of Ashland. I love it. I love it.
The table of contents I updated once we had our revisions, so they reflect the changes. Then, as you can see, we have the strategic plan for the district. And then the educational principles. Under curriculum, we revised the specials so that it's accurate as to which specials full day kindergarten has versus half day. And that music is for grades 1 and 2. The homework policy is really geared for the students of our school, so we didn't go beyond the grade levels. And included responsibilities of students, teachers, and parents. Again, we're kind of educating parents, the first initial contact with homework. With progress reports, we needed to do a revision to show more accurately the kindergarten reporting system, that they have a transitional report that's shared at the beginning of the year. And then they, too, have a standards-based report card in March and June, like grades 1 and 2. Translation. The next few pages are really district-wide. When you get to page 5, the bottom, it talks about the PBIS. And this was developed by a team of teachers at our school, and it was put into full action a year ago, the 2012 to 2013 year. So it's well underway. We're seeing a lot of carryover from students who were initially taught it, a year ago, and now they're in the next grade. Hopefully this is very clear to parents. It goes over the 4 core values of kindness, safety, respect, and responsibility. On page 6, you'll see a link, and the first one is to the progressive levels of discipline. This was developed in 2011, so I like that. Cannot really comment on it. It was in place. It's in action now. This is a guide to go by, but if we have a behavior that presents that is more serious, we might step up the level of discipline for that case. We treat it individually. As far as discipline, students that are sent to either Principal Kyra or to me are spoken to, and then if we need to enlist the assistance of guidance counselors or school psychologists to do further work, we do so. I think we pride ourselves on trying our best to call parents personally and explain an incident that happened, what we've done as a consequence. And I said in another forum a few months ago that I am so impressed by the parents' response. 99% of the time, people are so appreciative, and they'll say, oh, we'll talk to them at home, and blah, blah, blah. They're very supportive and working together with us. So you don't see that in every community, so it's really good to have here. And then the second link on that page is the PBIS matrix that the teachers on the PBIS team developed. These are very kid-friendly rules for all the different environments and venues they are at school as well as on the bus. We have posters posted appropriately throughout the school. Hallway rules are posted in the hallway as a reminder with that acronym. Classroom rules are posted accordingly. So it's a very effective tool.
Matrix is kid-friendly and school committee member-friendly, too.
Yes. And, you know, I spoke with a parent of a kindergartner last year about some bus issues, and she wanted to know what the rules of the bus were.
Right.
And it was very easy to be able to send her home a copy, so she could keep it and use the same vocabulary in discussing this with her children at home for follow-up, so.
And I think that's an important point to make, that it covers different areas, because there are different rules in different areas of our lives. So, and all of the matrices that you've seen, they're all worded positively. Do not do this, do not do that.
That's
It's
right.
use kind words.
Yeah.
You know, walk in the hallway. You know, it doesn't say don't run, it says please walk.
Tells them what you should do, not.
So it's the proactive, approach.
Right.
Right, it's also great to have as an anchor when you're dealing with a behavior situation with a child, because you can ask them, was that a kind thing to do? Is that keeping yourself safe or the other child safe? So it has a lot of usefulness
Yes,
at
yes.
school. And I really feel it incorporates our whole school community, not just our students, most importantly, but our faculty, our staff, parents, you know, anyone who enters into that community, that
Yeah,
we
the
all
language
respect
framework.
these
I'm sorry.
and maintain these values.
Yeah, but the language framework that you start with just reinforces the positive direction that you're trying to do. So I appreciate that piece of it very much.
Right. And as far as PBIS, as Superintendent Clenchey mentioned earlier, we also have monthly PBIS assemblies, and our next one is April 30th at 2:15, so you're welcome.
There you go.
So moving on, then there's the next section regarding disabilities. That's a district-wide set of documents, including an updated Chapter 71 that Mr. Lind distributed to us. The prevention plan, and then school attendance on page 11. And again, we go into a lot of detail there. I'm sure it may be somewhat confusing as well, because there are a lot of details, but, you know, with children arriving at different times of the day, if they're in full-day kindergarten, half-day, I think that's important to differentiate. On page 12, again, we go over the bus rules. And then the progressive discipline in regard to the bus conduct reports that we receive. I think that's a nice form of communication. So parents are given that to sign and return if there's an incident. Drop-off and pickup procedures, you know, with our limited parking for safety, I think those are great to be explicit. Especially not passing other vehicles in the loop. We occasionally have that happen,
And I see the periodic reminders in the newsletter.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Yes. And then, as you know, with Mr. Principal Kyra at the helm, we very much welcome parents in the building and volunteers, so, you know, there's a lot about the procedure for signing in, the different ways they may volunteer at school. You know, it does talk about the responsibility of the teachers and kind of coordinating what volunteer activities take place in their classrooms. The site council, I already mentioned that description, and then the chain of command. And then on the next page, the top of page 15, just different ways to communicate to a teacher, and the importance of not emailing during the school day, because oftentimes the teacher may not have time to respond or read an email. So if your child was going to be dismissed differently, you need to call the office to make sure somebody gets that information. Then at the end, as with the other handbooks, the health services documents. That's it.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions?
I guess I was wondering, so after that last page, number 16, we go into level 1, level 2, level 3. Is that how it, like, what is that? How is?
The links, right?
Oh, those are the links?
That's a link.
Oh, okay.
So if it's
I
tabbed
didn't
on
see
your.
how it,
yeah.
okay, got it.
Is that one tabbed? I might have missed it. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, okay, so that's not how it flew. I see, got it. Never mind.
So that would have been in the progressive
it, okay.
discipline and code of conduct.
Oh, all right,
section.
it links to
Click from
that.
there.
Okay, got it, thank you, okay.
Yeah, well, no, again, just like sort of my big picture questions about the different levels of discipline in all the schools. Is this something that was carried over from the last handbook, or is it something that you revisit? Does the guidance counselor have input? Who decides, what's a problem, what the punishment is, whether or not it's still working? What's that process?
Well, the teachers have all been given this as a guide. But as the receiver of students who may come down, I have found that teachers send students with different levels. There are very few teachers, but a couple who may send someone for being disruptive in the classroom or in a special, maybe more immediate than another classroom teacher would. So I think styles and management can kind of play into that a little bit. But it depends. There's different levels of being disruptive in class. So if you really are, preventing the learning of the rest of the class, then you should be, separated out temporarily. So again, this is used as a guide, but, I'm ready to work with any child who comes down for any reason. And oftentimes I'll try to take them back to the class and kind of work with the teacher. If it's something that I think the teacher could handle, the next time. And I also, when one child comes down, I will find out who else is involved in an incident and try to get all parties together. And it can take a few minutes, but really kind of delve down to get to the bottom line and the truth, hopefully. And we talk about how you're not in school just to learn academics, but also to learn how to be a good friend and a good student, a good citizen. And, young children, some of them are working on their impulse control or keeping their hands to themselves, so that's something we're teaching them. So I think going through this process and working it out and complimenting someone who took responsibility this time for an incident and told me the truth right away, whereas in the past was evasive or, I don't remember, blah, blah, blah. And now they're taking responsibility. That's a big step. So there's a lot to it, but trying to work it out, apologies, consequence, and then bring them back and acclimate them back into the classroom. So.
Thank you.
First of all, reflecting on what you said about how parents are receiving, and you're, I can't be sure, but I think if they're responding that way, it's a reflection of how they're receiving what you're putting out. So, you should take some credit for that, because I think as a parent, if you feel that someone is reaching out to support you with your child, then you feel safe enough to say, how can I do better? Or, whatever it is they need to do. So I think, I think that it's nice that it reflects on the parents of Ashland, but I think it reflects upon your delivery. I don't think that would happen if, so kudos to you for that. So my comments are pretty minor, but this is maybe to you, Mr. Lind. On page 7, the whole MGL Chapter 71, which I know this is where we're saying, let's be consistent across the board. But this really is hard for me, and I'm going back to what you said, and this is what I do love, and let me say this handbook is sort of just perfect, like the parent, like you really want to be walked through. All of this is new and it's great, so I do love that. This part's so scary though, and we really don't, I don't know, if we need to have this in there where we talk about felonies and, kids who are, bringing guns and knife to school. Do we need to have it in here? And if we do, is there language that could make it?
This is the actual language from the law.
Yes,
And if
I
you read
know.
the first line,
Yes.
all student handbooks shall
has to say
contain the
it.
following provisions.
So we have to put it in. And we have to put it in exactly
Yes.
like that.
I
Okay,
mean,
so again,
I
maybe
think
it's a,
you're- Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that we do our due diligence in terms of following the law, but then trust our administrators to dispense how they work with students, whether it's consequences or whatever, in a way that we know they'll use common sense.
right.
When you hear on the radio, that first grader who's suspended because they brought a knife to school because they had a birthday cake and, their mother put a knife in, like, I've heard that on the radio, and,
Right.
I fall out of my chair when you hear things like that. That doesn't make sense. That's not common sense.
So this may be, okay.
But I think your thinking is just, when you consider the age, does this really need to be in that particular handbook, is really what you're saying?
And you're
Is that
saying the
right?
law.
Legally, it sounds like it
Yeah, but you're
does.
saying the law does.
Yeah,
So-
and we're saying, yes,
Yes.
it's just that simple.
It's as simple, and it has to be exactly this way. Maybe it's just, again, I'm gonna turn to our graphic designer, if there's some way we
Do
can.
it really tiny? No.
No, well, you know what, though, if you
Well,
set
What
it
about
up.
a link? Can you just do a
Well, I was
link?
thinking a link,
I
but
was
what do you
thinking
think?
more like no, because I think it has to be in here. If the law says it's in, it's not probably a
Is
link.
it,
can't
is
be a
it,
link.
But
is
if
it
you
not
set it
in
up
if it's a
in a
link?
Box, and it's like, where you highlight the idea that this is here because it has to be, because, I don't know, but visually, this just, I find just troubling, even the part where it talks about, and I know it says may, but a student who assaults a principal, assistant principal, teacher, or teacher's aide may be subject to expulsion. Now, we know that little kids have impulse control, we don't want that to happen, but, so I hear you, it has to be here. So all I'm saying is if there's some way that we can send some kind of message that we understand that this isn't, that maybe there's just a note at the top that just says, we do everything, in an age-appropriate way at the Warren School. This language needs to be here, or something. That's all. I'm putting it out there, as I said, that it felt funny. Then these other two are really quick. On page 11, and again, it's because everywhere you are so clear and it's so helpful. But the very last bullet, and I think I know why, but you have, we strongly discourage student dismissals after 3 o'clock. I would just suggest if you could add a small clause that says because it sounds kind of funny, like after 3 o'clock, it's like, that's almost the end of the day, why can't?
Right.
And you don't really mean that, you mean because it's too close to dismissal, right?
Right.
And it messes
Right.
things up. So it just might be helpful to explain that, because then they're like, well,
Or even say between 3 and 3:15, or whatever, that time when
something
it's.
to explain.
Buses coming in.
Because that-
Because of the
Yeah,
parking
something like
lot,
Yeah.
parking
I
lot with
understand
all
that.
the- I
I'm
know
just
you
saying
do,
a
but I
parent
think you're
might
right.
not.
Right.
Yes,
I
that's
think
all.
you're right.
And then again, very specific, on the bottom of page 12, where they talk about any student who receives 3 bus conduct reports, is that during a school year, during a 6-month period, during their whole time at the Warren School? I mean, is there some time frame for that? During a school year, so it might be
One
helpful
school
to
year.
add that. So, and I think that was it. Those were really just very, because I can really tell that you spend a lot of time adding in that detail. And when you're a new parent, and you're new to school, and you want to do everything right, it's like perfect. So, nice job.
Anybody else?
Just one question, and it's a general question, is, so this handbook is good for a year, and then we have to approve them each year, or is that how it works? Okay.
I'm hoping the work that we have to do next year
Will be
is more.
minor in
Right.
comparison.
Right.
Site council's
This
looking
was a
at
major
content.
redo, but in
Yeah.
the future, there's probably a line that comes out or a page that comes out, but the
I'm hoping
idea.
it's just the site council reviewing things and approving the majority of it and
That's
making
right.
subtle changes as our world changes, that makes sense.
And maybe this is how we voted or some such thing, but the idea that this is online and it can be a living document, I would want for you to be able to update things as the year goes on. And is there any reason you can't do that because of the whole approval thing?
No, I think if you change a policy, for example, our handbook needs to reflect that.
Right.
You know, so if you changed a policy from you can do something to you can't do something, whatever that is, or you
Right.
can't to you can, and the handbooks need to reflect that. And, you know, part of that front, well, the second page, the information is current as of.
Yeah.
It's going to be as of August 2014. Because now that it's electronic, we don't have to send it out for publishing. You know, so as you make decisions and things happen within our district, we can update it before it goes live, you know, posted for that first day of school. So
Yeah.
it makes it a much more, you know, living document, fluid, changeable, adaptable.
But I understand your question, because we're supposed to approve them, so if you're going to be changing them, maybe it's a quick, like, motion to amend or something.
Oh,
you know?
maybe, because it might be small stuff. It could be staff changes.
Right.
Or phone numbers, and then, of course, I would think it'd be easy enough for you to do that.
I would think,
But
like,
it might, you might have a new parking plan in the middle of the year.
in some of the information like staff names, you know, school committee names, you know, as
Right.
elections
Right.
happen, you know, after they potentially are approved or things like that, I can certainly make a list and bring them to the committee on a sort of a, you know, I don't know,
Quarterly,
quarterly or
right. These have been the changes
semi-annually, and
I've
say,
made.
these are general changes. And if it's a bigger policy change that you vote in something, I would hope that myself or Barbara or Superintendent Clenchey would say, this does impact our handbooks, and we may have to do an amendment to
Yeah.
that.
I would just hate to have, that sounds great for anything
Okay.
substantial, but if there's anything that's routine, I would hope that we could do it by understanding that wouldn't have to, I don't think we want those coming before us.
I would say legally, I don't, again, I don't know for a fact, but I feel like changing a phone number or a guidance counselor's name, if that changes, or a school committee.
Right.
I'm not sure that we're caught up in the,
But there might be some more that are a little more substantial,
yeah.
but even then, I wonder if we would need to see them mid-year. I mean, like these plans that they do, all the PBIS stuff, I would think that could be. Maybe it doesn't get.
Well, I'm not looking for more, times to have to see them necessarily, but the
I
truth
guess
is, what we're approving, when we approve this, is this as it
Exactly
is.
that.
So
Okay.
if you're making changes, then
Great.
we
We're
haven't
doing it.
Fair
technically
enough.
approved the new document yet. But I don't think you need to come with the phone number. Maybe every few months, you can come with a report on the changes that you want to make or that you already made, and then we kind of do our official approval, just so that it's all done properly as we
I
go
understand.
along. And also to avoid any of the gray areas, because I think if everybody understands that it's going to come here, then we don't have to worry about, well, I didn't think it was a big deal, and then us
see what
saying
you're
later,
saying.
it really was, it was more than a phone number, but less than a policy, but I would have wanted to know, you know what I'm saying?
So
we have a
my
plan.
example is the changes you made at the high school to, the class ranking and those kinds
Right.
of things.
Yeah,
You
that's a
did
big
that
deal.
mid-year.
Right,
That would be something where I would immediately make a note and say, Jim, we
Perfect.
need to adjust the handbook before you publish it. Give it back to me, we'll get it on the agenda and say, you made a change to the way the high school, does class rank. Here's the wording that will adjust the handbook. And
yeah.
to me, that's a quick item because it's going to reflect your policy. But I think most things would be like that, where it would be based on,
Right, we would know anyway because
The
of the
law
magnitude of
changed,
what it
you
was,
know,
and everything else will just be minor.
if laws or regulations change, we have to abide by those, so, we'd change the handbook immediately and obviously you have to be in the loop with that.
Yeah. Okay. Kathy, anybody else? Did you have? All set on this one?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we got Mrs. White for
Mrs.
two.
White?
She was the lucky one.
Yeah.
She won big. She gets two.
Well, thank you again for inviting me. This is the second week in a row. I feel kind of special, actually.
You are special.
I'd like to echo Mrs. Deneen and Mrs. Condon's remarks about acknowledging all of the help and support we got from our site councils and teachers involved in the process, as well as office staff, and the eyes within our buildings that took a look at the handbooks. As Rich mentioned, I think the more eyes that see it, the more we see a few things, as you can see here this evening. So what I'd like to do is start with the We Watch handbook. And seeing as this is the first time we have such a formal document, I'd like to walk you through it if I may. So as you can see, it's set up similar to the other handbooks in that you have the information with regards to the phone, the fax number, email addresses, and so forth, and of course, the administration and school committee members. There is a message from myself at the beginning of the handbook.
Kathy's happy.
Yes, I'm very happy. I like
Table of
it.
contents. And again, those common elements of the handbook sort of there, the vision statement, mission statement, and so forth. And then I start on page 2 under the academics heading. And you can see that we have under there learning objectives for the We Watch. And these actually came from the Massachusetts Learning Guidelines for Infants and Toddlers that you see there is a link there too. We looked at those guidelines when we were formulating what our learning objectives are going to be for the infants and toddlers. So we use this document as a resource. And we actually were very fortunate because the guidelines actually were just developed in 2010, and then they were revised again in 2011. And really, the reason that the Department of Early Education and Care came out with guidelines for our youngest little students, our little infants and toddlers, was really so that they could provide a comprehensive view of development for this age group. And they really wanted to use it more as a way of documenting what experiences children at this age have and how to support them. So we also felt it would be an excellent resource for our parents as well. So not only do we want to let our parents know where our teachers are getting their resource and ideas from, but we also want to give them that as a tool for themselves as they do their parenting. We do have progress reports for infants and toddlers. Actually, they're mostly really daily reports because as our parents come in to pick them up, they actually get a little sheet at the end of the day that tells the parents how their day were. But in addition to that, we do try to give a more formalized kind of document to let them know how their development is occurring on that continuum. And so this gives you some information in terms of what those progress reports look like. We send them out every 6 months, but we also encourage our program staff to bring to the parents' attention any special problems or significant developments, whether good or not so positive, especially if they involve our infants. We try to bring them to the attention of the parents as soon as possible. And of course, we also put in there that any information on our children will be done so privately as outlined in our confidentiality plan, which is immediately below that. In the second paragraph, the last sentence I felt was important for not only this handbook but also for the preschool handbook, and that was that the We Watch program's confidentiality plan, is based on mandates from the Ashland Public School System, the Massachusetts Learning Guidelines for Infants and Toddlers, and the Guidelines for Accreditation from the National Association of Education for Young Children. I thought it was important for parents to know that we didn't arbitrarily just come up with our own plan, but it actually had some basis to it. And that all of our children's files are kept in a locked and secure location. Next we have again we get down to the common parts, the general information about translating the handbook. Continues on until we get to calendar events, and that's where you can see I actually put 3 links. I put a link to the Ashland Public Schools homepage. I put a link to the calendar as well because a lot of our We Watch parents are actually teaching staff. So I felt it was important for them to have that calendar handy for them as well. And along with our preschool calendar, because we find that a lot of the events and activities that we offer our preschoolers, some of our infant and toddler parents are also interested as well. So we give them that opportunity to try to take part if they can. We then get down to more of the common parts of the handbook, the statement of non-discrimination. And again, we go on to page 4, we get code of conduct, and we get down to the code of conduct and progressive discipline plan. Again, there was a little, I put in this paragraph, I felt it was important again to explain what we were doing, and that was that we use routines to promote behavior guidance to ensure the developmentally appropriate progression of self-regulation at the different stages. And the routines listed below come directly from the Massachusetts Early Learning Guidelines for Infants and Toddlers. So that is the direct source from where they come, and is actually copied and pasted right from those guidelines, which is indicated there. Next, on the next page again, we have more of that common language, the bullying plan. And then we go to page 6, where we have school attendance. And we do ask that our parents notify us whenever we do have any of our students absent from school. It is important, especially, it's very helpful to our school nurse who collects information, and because she works very closely with our infant and toddler parents. So anytime that a child will not be in attendance, we do ask them to give us a call. And as far as transportation policy and procedures, obviously at this level, they are brought in by their parents and also picked up by their parents. And for the infant toddler program, there is a sheet where parents sign in when they drop their child off at the beginning of the day. And then when they pick up their child, we also ask them to sign out. So we have a record of when the child has left the building under the direction of their parents. And the last line there, once a child is signed in, We Watch is responsible for the child until the child is signed out by the parent or authorized picked up individual. Below that, the parent information. We feel that it's important right away to promote that communication and relationship with families. So we want them to know a process that they can follow with regards to who is in the organization, the people involved, what they do, and the different steps that they need to follow in order to contact someone. And of course, we included an organizational chart so that they understand who else is in our school system. On page 7, we have some information about how to access our building and security that we have in place, so that parents understand that we do have our school locked at all times during the day when children are in the building, and the process that they need to follow in order to be admitted into the building. And I had to put that disclaimer in. I know it does sound somewhat impersonal, but again, it's really the safety and welfare and well-being of our children, so that's why we put that in there. There is also a paragraph about the Warren Pittaway Site Council. We want to explain to our parents what it is. We also want to let them know who is involved in a parent site council, the responsibilities, and also to let them know that it's an opportunity for them themselves, if they would like to become involved and have a say in terms of how procedures and routines are set up in the building, and perhaps suggestions for improvements can be made. This would be a wonderful vehicle for them to use. Next, we come down to the health services, which again follows through to page 9, where I provide a link for parents to go to if they would like to see a complete version of the program's healthcare routines and procedures, because in that particular version, we get into things like diapering and those types of routines that you wouldn't normally find in the first part of the health services. And that is pretty much the WeWatch handbook.
Gina?
Just a question actually for both, just because it's different than our other schools. You actually take payment, right? You have a tuition. So I was curious if that was something that information you provide outside of the handbook, or something that should be?
Yes, as part of our registration process, the forms that we use at registration time, we give information to parents then in terms of what payment is, when it's expected, how to make payment, in other words, we don't accept cash, check or money order, and those kinds of things. So that information is given out at registration time.
Okay.
Anybody else? I just really liked it. So I thought you did a nice job. And it just actually, the building security and access, do we do that in our other books? Or is that a good section that we might have that might be useful for others? I don't remember seeing it.
I don't believe it's in,
I mean, it's.
It may be in one.
It is new, just like you mentioned about the site council piece. You put some nice pieces in here that actually are, again, I mean, as you're reading this, the more you read, the more you're like, yeah, that's good for people, and they might not know. And I really love the idea that this is like a place where parents can just really answer a lot of questions that you forget that you have them until you, so that was one thing I liked. And I also really liked that you reference national guidelines all the time and talked about, guidelines to help. I mean, you are in sort of a unique place where you're getting our littlest ones, but to let parents know. And actually, Gina's question just made me think for other ones, and maybe it was in there, on payments for other stuff. That also might be useful information. And at the other levels, that there are some things that we do on a fee basis, which would vary by school. I don't know, just thinking about it. And that would be the community ed stuff.
Yeah, I mean, when Gina said it, I'm thinking about it too right now, does it belong in the handbook? Should it,
I can see where this wouldn't, because by the time you get the handbook, you're registered, you're paying the
Correct.
bills. So I can really see why it wouldn't at that level. But I'm thinking more like when you get to the Warren School, again, new parents, and you have that doctor program with the lab coats. What is that crazy doctor you have in? It's not.
That's a community ed program.
It's community ed, but I mean, somewhere, there might be a thing where we have community education is available in those flyers. Again, I'm just thinking, I don't mean to overdo this, but I do love the idea that these are great references for parents.
I think it's really important that we continue to make sure people are using our website. I mean,
Maybe.
this can get.
Maybe you're right.
This can turn into
Too much.
50, 60, 70 pages
Right.
very quickly.
Right, okay, fair
As we
enough.
add it. So I think those kinds of things, we always can continue to reference, and I know the principals and
They do it with all their
directors
newsletters, so you're
are
right.
constantly
You're right, that's
emailing
how they
out.
figure it out.
I just worried, because I've been
Right.
there where.
No, you're right. No,
Yeah.
well said.
Dollars change, yeah.
No, I wouldn't have put specifics, but yeah, you're right.
That's what it's going back and forth in my head.
Yeah.
You know,
So thanks, that's very helpful.
I'm sorry. That prompts a question for me, which is, and I'm not sure that I saw them, and I apologize, is, do the handbooks give any indication of what to sign up for the newsletters, the electronic newsletters for each school? Just advising parents that, you know, you can get the information through your email about, like, med science, or, so do
I
we-
give that information out at the Welcome to School Day. It's part of the booklet or the folder. We actually have a folder, a pocket folder that we give to parents with preschool calendar, district, copy of the district calendar, and that's where we actually talk about how to access
Okay.
the homepage and sign up. We've been doing that for a couple of years since they've had the links out there.
So do we do it?
That's how we do it.
Okay. Do we have it for the, okay.
We give a kind of a first day of school packet that ends up going home to all of our families. And I'm sure probably across the board, teachers who will include that type of information
Yeah.
True.
in an initial letter maybe to parents. So
Okay.
that
Yeah.
information certainly gets pushed across to parents on a regular basis.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's highlighted outside the handbook where it might get lost or something.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And maybe this is for you, Rich, but, so, and it's even more ridiculous than the Warren, that you would have to do this 37H with the infants and the toddlers, because they can't even get outside to do any of these things. But does the law apply if it's a handbook in a school district? I mean, is it something that needs to be there, as ridiculous as it is?
The way I evaluated it was, when you look at an infant who can't move
Right.
without an adult doing it, I don't think, like the bullying piece applies to adults. So I felt like that was important to keep with a We Watch. Whereas, the idea of.
And I'm totally with you, as long as we're not violating anything. I mean, it's either like has to be there or it doesn't, I guess, is how I'm,
I actually took it out of the We Watch.
yeah. I mean, it seems
because I just
ridiculous,
think
but,
that that's not
yeah.
viable. I can certainly put it back in if people think it's
I'm not looking for you to
appropriate.
put it in, I just want to make sure that we're doing, whatever we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I just felt like these are really
It's
little
not,
ones.
it's
Yeah.
not in the K to, it's not, well, preschool. It's a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Okay, one down, one to go. Move on to the preschool. The handbook, again, the first couple pages is set up the same way. You have your contact information, address, phone number, what number to call in case of absenteeism, school hours, and so forth. A message from myself. The Ashland Public Schools strategic plan is also included on page 1. And then on page 2, we get to the academics. What I wanted to do in this section was to really show parents how we have aligned our curriculum to the next level at the kindergarten level. Specifically in the 3 areas. There's one area, the first area is in the pre-K version of the Houghton Mifflin reading program that we actually use in our preschool program. The second is the character education program, which is the second step. And then the third way is the handwriting program, which is handwriting without tears. So those are the 3 major elements that we have within our curriculum that matches up to the kindergarten. And in addition to that, we still use the 2003 guidelines for early learning experiences to round out, because the Houghton Mifflin does a nice job of addressing the reading readiness and the English language arts and also some math. But the early learning guidelines help supplement it in other areas like the social science and technology, history and social science, and also social and emotional development, and of course the arts. So it gives us a well-rounded curriculum and gives us opportunities to provide experiences across all of the domains. So that is why I have a link there for the guidelines for preschool learning experiences. That's what that is. That's those 2003 guidelines. And then I also provide a link for parents to look at the 2011 Massachusetts frameworks for ELA, I can't speak this evening, ELA and mathematics. So those are the 3 links that are provided for there. And then along with a little description of what the program elements are about for parents. We then, underneath that, again, I get into the progress reports and also conferences and how we handle those. We sent home a transition note in the fall so parents have a sense of how their child has transitioned into the school environment, because for many of them it's their first formal experience away from either family members or other care providers other than their parents. We send progress reports home in January. Soon thereafter, we set up a day for parents to come in for a parent-teacher conference. And then we also send home a final progress report in June. But we also invite parents to call us at any time if they feel that they would like to come in, if they have questions or concerns. And we also inform them that if our staff has questions or concerns that they would like to talk to the parents about, we will also initiate a phone call to them and contact them to come in as well. I put a little section in about assessing, how we assess our children's progress. We use a more formative assessment tool called Teaching Strategies for Gold. And what that does, it helps us through our observations and other checklists and ways that we collect information and data. It gives us a way to put it all into this web-based system and see how the child is developing according to a continuum, where they fall, if they're below range, in the range where they should be, or working out of that range to the next level. And again, we mentioned that all the information on any of the development is shared with families and is done so privately as outlined in the confidentiality plan that is listed below that. And that is the same plan that you had seen from the We Watch handbook as well. And again, I also reference that last sentence that it is based on those 3 mandates. The mandate from the Ashland Public Schools, the National Association for the Education of Young Children, and also from the learning experiences from the Department of EDC. We go through page 3, which is again that general information, and we get to page 4, where we see the Code of Conduct and Progressive Discipline Plan, and this is where I believe you have a document. It's called Guidance and Discipline. So under this section, we try to educate our parents and let them know how we view guidance and discipline, and we really see it at this level as an opportunity to help our students really understand that difficult task of learning how to get along with each other. Again, for many of them, it's that first time they're in a school environment, and now they have to share that shiny blue truck that they really want all by themselves. And how am I going to get to play with that truck if I don't push or do something to keep it to myself? So this is where we really try to work with our parents, and to support that philosophy, we give them a copy of the Guidance and Discipline that you have in your packet. That is given to parents on our Welcome to School Day when they come to see the classrooms for the first time. And we also have that Guidance and Discipline plan out attached on the parent information board in each of our classrooms. And we also post it in our parent information board. So it is throughout the building so that parents and visitors and staff can see it at all times. Next, you have the general section for disciplining students with disabilities, followed by Chapter 71. Let's see, I think the next time we get into program-specific information is on page 9, where again I talk about school attendance. I really do believe that even though they are in preschool, it's nice to start to begin to work with parents and help them understand the importance of not only getting their children into a consistent routine, but making sure that they're on time. And part is, in fact, to the point where on our progress report, we actually list the number of times they are tardy when we give the reports. And sometimes the parents don't really realize it until they see that. And it's helpful for the child. It's hard for a child to break in to a class once the class is underway. So we really try to impress upon our parents the importance of really being consistent with their children, even at this young age. Transportation policy and procedures. Most of you are familiar. We have a drop-off procedure and a pick-up procedure where parents will form a line and staff will go to the cars, help the children out of the cars, and then we do have a system where along the way staff is positioned as children walk into the building. We took a look at this. I think there was one change to it, and that was do not pass other vehicles in the loop unless otherwise directed by a staff member. Again, that was brought to our attention actually by the teachers that were on the site council, because they themselves are out there and they know, sometimes being out there in the trenches, that sometimes these parents are anxious to leave and they try to pull out of the way. So we felt it was important to add that in there as part of our handbook. So that was probably the one change we put in there. And also the fact that to again emphasize to parents that we will go to the car, but your child will have a chance to say goodbye to you. So if there's any important information you need to say, one last goodbye to your child or pass along some information to the teacher, you'll have that ability to do it. We also put the last sentence in there that some of our children do qualify for accept transportation, and that those arrangements are made through the Office of Student Services. Next, we have the communication and organization section under the parent information. And as I mentioned in the We Watch, I find this is an excellent opportunity to introduce and develop those communication procedures between parents and schools and get them used to really sharing information back and forth with us. One of the things we've also adopted to align with the Warren School is the folder system. We also have pocket folders that go to home and back to school again on a daily basis. And we instituted that, I'm going to say maybe about 5 years ago. That came about as from the transition committee that I was a member of when we were working on a transition process from preschoolers going into kindergarten. We felt that having that folder system was a good way to help keep our kindergartners organized. And then we decided to bring it down to our level as well. And then, of course, we put the organizational chart in there for parents. On page 11, we talk a little bit about visitors and how we welcome our visitors to the program. We love having families visit our program, but we do ask that they wait for a little bit of time, usually until November, when we start what we call our Be Our Guest program. We like to give them those first couple of months of school to transition, get them used to the environment, get them used to the routine, and then by the time the parents come in, they're wonderful hosts. They bring them all around the classroom, and they have a great time having parents come in to play with them. So we do ask parents that once we start that program, they can call the school, and then we set up a time and a date when they can come in and visit. And sometimes they come in just to play, sometimes it's to read a story. We've had some parents come in and actually share a particular skill or a hobby that they enjoy, that they do with their children. So we've had a lot of fun visitors in the past. The next section, again, is about building security and access. It's very similar to what you saw in the We Watch handbook. And again, that paragraph about the Warren and Pitaway Site Council as well. The next section gets into the health services, which is similar to the rest of the handbooks. And on page 13, I again include a link so that they can also take a look at the complete version of the health care routines that we have, especially where there's a lot of information in there with regards to the types of vaccines that are necessary, for these young children to have and when they're due. So that kind of information is very important to give to parents, so we include that in there. Those are some of the things. And that's it. That concludes preschool.
Thank you.
Questions?
Mrs. White, any questions?
I just think your guidance and discipline is very well written. It's
Yeah, I
really
love that
lovely.
too.
I like the picture.
But it reminds me of all I need to
Philosophy.
know I learned in kindergarten, but this
Yeah.
is like all we all need to know, right?
Yeah.
It's very well
It's
done.
a great philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not joking, I think that picture, sends a message.
It does.
It does.
Well,
I
it
agree.
kind of,
No,
just sets the
you're
tone,
absolutely right.
this is what we're trying to do to
It is.
make it all work. So, thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
you.
very
Thank you.
much.
Okay, so do we need a vote?
Well, I think
gonna vote
there are
these
some
then?
things that we still need to, are these things that, how much change do we need to make, Mr. Lynn? Are they votable like this, or do you still need to take them back?
I think they're votable because I think the majority of the comments were really related to district sections. There was some suggestions on the middle school and Warren, but they apply to others like confidentiality. It suggested that all of the handbooks have something on that. And I think it makes sense. I think looking at the wording from the site council, from Warren and Pitaway to maybe apply it to the others. I think there are changes in individual school sections, but they seem to be things across all the schools. So they might not necessarily be in a district section, but they're things that you're suggesting be consistent no matter which school they're in. And they all have a site council
Right.
area. It's just not in a district section. It's in their school sections. But we can tighten that up. So I think they're votable.
Yeah, and it's not, and is everyone comfortable with that? Because I know, I think most of what we heard, you're right, it's just adding the confidentiality. But there were a couple points, like Marcia, yours about the sick day, or coming into school after the sick day. I mean, if something like that is going to be revisited
Oh, we'll bring them back to those specific sections.
later, okay.
Yeah,
Is everybody
absolutely.
comfortable with that?
That's fine.
So I'm comfortable voting on these tonight. I know you've captured, Mr. Lynn, I know you captured our comments and the captured, and you captured comments last week. What I would, if it's possible, I would like to see what those what you captured. Like just a list of the additions or changes you're going to make. And if I can get that,
Okay.
or if we could get that, I think.
I can pull that together.
Yeah. So we I know we all talked and he captured what we were saying. So I think just having a bullet list of the additions, the changes, what's going to happen is
Sure.
is
I
helpful
really
to
think
me.
you're fine to vote,
Yeah.
Okay.
on them.
Oh, yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Do
And
we
why
have a
don't
motion?
I so moved. Is that what- Can I just say that, or do
Yeah.
I have to say all of
Do
it?
we don't need a separate motion for each handbook, do we? Or can we?
I think I would do each
All right.
handbook separately.
Okay,
so-
so, well, let's start with the
We approve.
We Watch,
We
since we
approve.
always have to go in the other direction, and Mrs. White has to wait all night to get to her turn.
Can we say one statement that lists them all? I move that we accept the We Watch, the preschool.
I think they were saying
Can
that
we
we
do
need a
that?
separate
I would
vote.
do
Individually?
Yeah.
All right,
All right.
okay.
Okay, so does anyone
Got
have a
it.
motion for the We Watch handbook?
I motion to accept the We Watch handbook.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion for the preschool handbook?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion for the
Warren.
Warren School handbook?
So moved.
Do we have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion for the middle school handbook?
So
Minden-
moved.
Wait, middle school?
Middle school.
Middle school.
Middle school.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Take your pick.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Did we vote the other ones the other night?
Yes.
We
Yep, we did. Okay.
We did.
Yep.
Fabulous.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for all that
Thank you
work.
for your
Thank you.
patience and your hard work.
Really gonna be great
Excellent
next
job.
year.
It is.
And
I think it's gonna be much improved.
So I know we're wrapping up this topic. And can I ask a question? Because with Ms. Mercon-Smith here, it prompts me to wonder, is there a handbook for the extended day program? Does that fall under the realm of what we're doing, what we just did? Is that outside of it?
We have a handbook that is been approved by the parent advisory board, and then there's a copy that's passed on to the superintendent, but it's never been, in 25 years, brought to the school committee, but
Yeah. You kind of operate a little bit outside of,
They fa- yeah, I was gonna say,
outside
do
of
they
it,
fall under
so,
us, or-
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's something that you'd wanna have a look at or not. When do they review your handbook? Probably, I'm assuming probably at the end of this year for next year? I think it's certainly fair enough to, if you'd like to see it, that maybe what you can do next year is provide copies for everyone so that they can take a look at it. I think that's very fair and reasonable. And-
absolutely, if it's easy enough for you to.
Yeah, because I think.
online, if you want to take a look.
Oh,
at it.
okay.
Okay, that would be wonderful,
Yeah.
too.
Thank you. All right, Lisa. You've all been very patient. Thank you.
Thank you.
The handbooks are a big job to
Yes,
do.
they are. They
Yeah.
are. Well, this is the first time I've been in front of you since this committee has been together, actually.
Really?
Yes, this is the first time I'm in front of Mr. Larson. And I've met Gina before, so, hello.
Very nice to meet you.
You too. I know this is primarily to talk about whether or not I recommend a price increase, but also to let you know what we've been doing this year, just kind of a summation of the year. So I'm going to start with the beginning. This was the first year I was really able to get a hold of a local farmer to do some farm-to-school things. We've tried and tried in the past, but we don't live in the Pioneer Valley, and we don't live in San Francisco. It was really hard, but I did find a farm, Oakdale Farm, that we were able to utilize through the beginning of January, actually. And hopefully in the next few months, he'll be having things for us, but you kids have seen a lot of kale this year.
Where is the
Introduced it to
Oakdale
school.
farm? What town?
Oakdale, he's from Rehoboth.
Rehoboth,
Mhm.
Massachusetts.
Yes, and my staff loved him. The farmer himself would deliver a couple times a week to the schools, which was a lot of fun. And we're looking forward, as I said, to be doing more with him when his growing season gets underway. And we have had a lot of things that the kids hadn't seen before, so that was fun. We also, this year, and we'll do this every year now, at the Ashland Farmers Market, one weekend we'll have a table. Mrs. Kavanaugh from the Mendez School was there with me this year, which was great because she knows absolutely everyone in this town. So it was fun. It was really good. And we like having that relationship with the farmers market. That's great. we had our, what used to be called our CRE. It's basically our review from the state. This year with the Reauthorization Act, everything changed. All the rules changed, last year for the school meals program, but we were way ahead of the curve, so it didn't affect us that much. But this was the first year the ESE had to conduct these audits in collaboration with the USDA, whole new set of rules. So we were the first district in the state to be audited.
Surprise, surprise, right?
Yeah.
You were ready.
They said to me, you're our guinea pig. I said, okay, does that get to squeal a lot through this? But it really was a completely different process than in the past. But I'm pleased to say we did really well. The two areas where we had a little bit of issues is due to data, different data in IPASS and the whole thing of not having the IPASS and the POS and all the different systems pulled together properly. So we're working on that, streamlining that. And the other issue that we failed on was our wellness policy. That they just said it's vague, it leaves too much to interpretation, there's really nothing you can't really measure this. There were no measurable things in our policy. It was just strong suggestions, things like that. That being said, 2 days ago, the USDA put out a new thing that they're revisiting wellness policies again. I actually sent it to Mrs. Duran today and said, by the way, I haven't read this yet because it's like 17 pages long, but it's tightening it up further. I do know that about it. So we do have to look at that.
Tightening the rules
yeah.
about what, yeah.
But
And
we
did he
weren't
have a
meeting-
sample policy that we could look at? I mean,
There's a lot of districts that have them. And actually, Mrs. Bates was on our committee last year. We looked at a lot of different things. But what came out in the end, they said, was just too vague, was the word they kept saying. It's not measurable. We don't see how you're actually going to enforce this. So that was one area to look at. But as I said, in saying that, I don't even know how much further they've tightened it up because I just saw it today for the first time.
Okay.
I want to talk to people and see where that's going to go. And I think that's why we didn't get, because it's all new, we didn't get any dunning notices about that or anything. They didn't, they mentioned it at our closing meeting, but I didn't get anything in writing on it because I think they knew these changes were coming down the pike too. But other than that, we did really well. Glad it's over. We're good for 3 years now.
Where can we find those changes if we have to revise the policy?
I'll send you the link.
Okay.
I'll send you the link.
Awesome.
Wonder, do you have a mask policy? Is there a change? I don't know.
I don't know the mask
No.
policy when we were writing.
Yeah, we didn't use the mask, I mean, it was a month-long, maybe a couple of years-long process, I think, and I think a big part of the problem is inconsistent information, like out there, because I asked
what I wanna
Mask
ask
about
about,
it, and I
yeah.
got one
Right.
set of information. And then, I know Marcia did quite a bit of research in trying to look at the actual law and how it's interpreted. She got some different information. I think the biggest problem, it wasn't so much that, that was the only policy we could agree on, it was finding information out there to guide us.
Consistent
Well,
information.
that's where I want to go back and understand, because this is help me understand, this is an audit by the federal or the state government or a combination?
Combination.
This is a combined audit.
Directs
So it's a
ESE.
combined. Okay. And the wellness policy, and I'm no lawyer, but when we did it, we looked at the law, the requirements for the law, and we met those requirements. So is this audit setting another whole set of standards higher
No,
than
they
the
just
law?
felt the way that the wellness policy was written wasn't, it wasn't tight enough. It left too much to interpretation, and it would be hard to enforce.
Was there
But then
specific sections?
Is that the difference between a policy and, I think one of the reasons we wrote it the way we did is because that's, and again, I guess this is a conversation we have to have, but I think we were leaving for the step down from the policy would be in the regulation or whatever.
The
that
procedure.
would, in the procedure that would detail. And is it because we didn't have further detail, or because they really want us to put in the policy something very, very specific language?
They
like
want
you will
specific
not?
language.
I think we'll have to talk about that.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Because
I
procedure is
would-
up to the administration.
And I would agree with Chairman Tosti, too. I mean, that group did a lot of work, and how many times did we go back and revisit and revisit and revisit? And we had other sample policies, so I'd be really curious I haven't seen the audit, so I'd be really curious to read what they're saying
Well,
about
they
that.
didn't, that's what I'm saying, they
Yeah.
didn't give us anything in writing. Mrs. Durand and I were at a closing meeting with them.
Oh, okay, so you were at the exit interview. Okay, so
The exit
we don't
interview.
have, so we clearly don't have anything yet. So I think that's probably what we need to
Right.
do, is wait
So-
for that to come.
Yeah.
Right.
Then take a look at it
Right.
Yeah.
and see what the new information is that's coming out and,
Right.
because you're absolutely right. I remember when you brought in the information, the law, I mean, there was a lot of work that went into that whole process.
And we were trying to really write it as policy, at a policy level, as opposed to at a.
Practice and procedural, yeah. So I think that maybe we best sit and wait and see what comes
think
out.
so.
Do you have any idea of timing
Well,
on
they
this?
sent me already my corrective action plan, and it wasn't on there.
Oh.
And I went back to them and, asked, is this all I have to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't heard back from them yet, because they were the only things about the
That makes me
data.
wonder.
But I'd still be interested in seeing the
But I
new,
think I
whatever the
really-
new guidelines are. Because if
Yeah,
there
I'll
are new
send you all the
guidelines,
link
we might
tomorrow.
have to.
That would
I'll
be
send
great.
you all
Well,
the
right,
link
I mean,
tomorrow.
this is one of
anyway.
those things that keeps changing anyway,
Right.
but.
Yeah.
The whole audit process kept changing. They
While
said
they were
that to
here.
me.
What
They
a
were-
surprise.
They said as they were going along, they're like, we're getting new updates every day.
I believe it.
I'm wondering if the auditors knew these new guidelines might be coming out, and were making a suggestion not to put it in a report to sort of give us a corrective action, but with the idea of this might be something you want to address because they know there are new guidelines just around the corner, which is
That could
awesome.
be.
Yeah,
Could
but
be.
that's a tough bar for us, really, you know?
I absolutely agree with you. It's like you don't know what the bar is, because it keeps moving, so I would agree. So I would suggest we wait and see what
Yeah.
comes out, and
Yeah,
take a
but I
look
will
at
send
that.
you all the link.
Okay.
tomorrow.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's okay. There was, there's a new program on Ashland Cable called Gypsy Jen, and we were the first show that she did, which was great. She followed a day in the life of nutrition services at Mendez School, and that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. I think she did a great job. The staff did a great job. It was really wonderful. I've seen the show, but they repeat it every once in a while, so I don't know the exact schedule, but you can find that online. The other thing that was fun this year is working in collaboration with the YMCA. I know that you all saw the community forum and everything. An email came out today from the CEO. Just to let you know that when we had that, the things that came out at the table, they did present at the wellness fair we had for our staff last week. Well, not present, but they had a table, which was one of the things that came up. So they were there, and they're planning on being at the farmer's market as well. So that was great. I've been working with them a lot this year. We also recently did professional development, and we do the 2 regular professional development days as the whole staff does, but we did one 2 weeks ago through a BAA grant that an Ashland resident, Susan Polewski, who works with Action for Healthy Kids, went and applied for a BAA grant last year and received it. And what we did was a whole grains cooking class. We did it one afternoon after school. It was fabulous. I had all my managers, second cooks, and it wasn't mandatory for the rest of the staff to come, but a lot of them came, which was great. They really enjoyed it. Mrs. Polewski then came in and did tastings at the schools with the students. She went to the high school, the middle school, and the Mendez school, and did tastings, which was a lot of fun. And we had 1 item on the menu this week, and then we'll be featuring 4 others on the May menu. just to bring different whole grains in. The challenge right now is our purveyors don't even have half the whole grains, so I keep going to Market Basket, buying all they have, and saying, when are they coming again, because I'll take all that. So we're hoping that next year, because the rest of the districts have to get on board with more whole grain things, that they'll be on our tech bid. We've also done a lot more staff wellness programs this year. We've been doing for years now a yoga program for staff that is held here at the middle school, and we just started one at Town Hall as well, getting more town employees involved in the yoga program, which is great. We've also did a couple mindfulness programs, and I'm going to be doing 4 more in May, which is really exciting because we had good response to the other ones. They will be held on Thursday afternoons at 4 o'clock in the town hall, and they're open to all employees of the town for free. And that's all funded by the West Suburban Health Group, which is our town collaborates with other towns to buy our health insurance, and we get money each year to run staff wellness programs from the West Suburban Health Group, so that doesn't come out of any local budget at all. And this I'm excited about because I've already heard it come up a few times tonight in the staff handbooks. I'm proud to say we are finally Safe Route to School district. We signed up, it's a K-8 program. This has been something I've wanted to do for a while now, and what it really is, it's a state program, and it's making the behavior we want easier. So when they were talking about dismissals and all that, what we want to do is do things that will make that the easier behavior, such as site improvements, putting in pedestrian amenities such as benches or bike racks, crosswalks, things like that. Make policies such as walkers are dismissed first, which would be great for a lot of people. And then do experiments, like having a week of walk to school, and then have it tied into class to say, okay, the week before, everyone took the bus. How long did it take you to get to school? From leaving your front door, waiting for the bus, getting here, getting in. How long did that take? And then post those results to, okay, when you did walk to school, how did that work? And then have teachers also track behavior in the classroom. See if there's a difference there. Any other behaviors they can find. So it could tie into the curriculum as well. And we're starting this by doing pedestrian safety training at Warren. And we're going to be doing that with second graders. We're looking for parent volunteers, and we'll do it 2 days because there's so many second graders. And they will come in and from Mass Rides and the Safe Routes to School program, the 2 state programs, will bring people in to train the parent volunteers on how to train the students pedestrian safety. And then right after that training, we'll take kids out for a walk. And you know, just teaching them the things about how to cross a street, you know, when there are cars around, what to do. And what we want to do is do that with second graders every year. And that's with all their research on the age you want to start that. The real exciting thing about this, besides the obvious, is once we are in this program for 1 year, we can apply for federal funding for them to come in and doing mapping assessments, say, they're current, I should back up. They're doing some mapping assessments already. I've sent them the bus routes and the walkers and the whole district where all the kids are coming from. But what they'll do at that point is look at those roads and look at what the obstacles are for people, why they can't work to work. Like if you're Pine Hill Road, crossing there and getting down, they have people that this is what they do. They're going to come in, they're going to do that, arrival observation maps, what happens with the cars and everything, and then they'll pick a school where they think it would be best. My mind is it's probably going to be Mendez. And they will come in and put in the sidewalks, put in the bike paths, do all the structural work. They will, down to where they do all the, putting it out to bid. It won't be our DPW that has to oversee this at all. It'll all be done on a federal level. And I mean, their projects, most of them range about $500,000, but they've gone up to over $1 million, and it's fully funded. So I'm really excited about that, because if we can do that in an area, say, at Mendez, because then it'll tie in walking to the library and walking to Stone Park and,
Right.
you know, more places that the kids can go to safely, then maybe, you know, we can look at the things that have been common complaints since I've worked here, which is how do people walk to our community center?
Right.
And if we can get federal funding to do these other things, you know, it'll encourage people to look at our own funding to put in those sidewalks, because that came up at the community forums.
Absolutely.
That we have this great community center, but
That you
kids
can't
can't
walk
go.
to. I know.
The state park, kids can't go on their own. So I'm really looking forward to that. And as I said, our first thing that we're gonna do is at Warren, May 28th and 29th. I'm sending some things to Principal Kyra that he can get out in his newsletter this week.
Just to clarify for me, the name of this federal program is the Safe Route to School program? Is that-
This is Mass Safe Routes to School.
Okay, that's the.
But if you go to Safe Routes to School, you'll see it come up. It ties in, there's Mass Rides, have you heard of that?
I have.
Okay, it ties in with that, and it ties in with the federal program as well. And I can send you all the links.
I'd be very interested, yeah, I'd be very interested just to review that and understand how the federal dollars get to the school district is.
Well, it's to the
Get
town.
To the town.
To the town.
Figures
Yeah.
of, because it's,
There's,
it's
I
roads that are.
can't remember I went to a program on this a couple months back, and they were talking about different places in the state. The thing is, I wanted to get on as soon as we could, because we gotta be on for a year before we can
Right.
get it, but more places are finding out about this. So you do have to apply for the
So,
grant.
yeah, so 1 year to get started, demonstrate that
We're really doing things.
we're doing something. Then in the second year is the study that you referenced, is that right, where they review the routes?
Well,
routes, or
the
is that
second
first
year is when you apply,
Through
and,
the federal government,
yes.
yes,
Well, I believe you apply through the state,
through
but
the
it's
state.
federal
Okay,
funded.
Okay.
They're, like, Safe
So the
Routes to
state does the
School is
administration, okay.
funded through the federal government. It's all through all these things are tied into the Department of Transportation. And they will come in and make an assessment, and even if they'll come in and do the assessment and then decide what you need.
And then you would think work with the town.
Oh, they absolutely will work
coordinate
with the
how
town,
that
but
all
what I mean is it's not
unrolls,
going
yeah.
to create more work for the town,
Yes,
like our
right.
DPW is gonna have to put
Doesn't
the
have to
sidewalks
implement
in.
the construction, right, yeah, I heard you
Exactly.
say that, yep. No, that's very exciting, very
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, I did an article for Directions last month to try to, put it out there. And met with, forgive me, it's that there's a new committee in town.
Mm-hmm.
The
Sustainability?
Yes, thank you. And they're very excited about it as well.
Absolutely.
Our town manager is thrilled.
Sure,
So they're
sure.
all behind this,
Yeah.
100%. So
Yeah.
it's really exciting. And as I said, this is going to be our first event.
It
and we'll
ties
be-
in with the comprehensive planning committee, I think, in some of the things they're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, great,
Yes.
great.
Thank you, Lisa. That seems
And-
like it's going beyond
That's
her
huge. I mean,
position.
if there's ways that we as a school committee can support this, I am like
Absolutely.
100% behind it. I think it's a
Great.
quality of life issue
Yeah,
for the entire
definitely.
town.
It is, and it's activity. It makes me nuts when I'll be coming down and you see people at the end of the driveway in their car, waiting for the bus with their kids. And I think you look at that and say, okay, how much time have you been there? You're idling. It's not good for the environment. You could be walking to school with your child, which is, first of all, great quality time, great exercise for them, great exercise for you. Are you waiting in the car and then going to the gym? You look at things like that and just tie it into making it the easier choice, making it the fun choice. I mean, if we could start walking school buses, I talked to people about ranks, and they're like, what are you talking about? When I went to school in Worcester, and we had ranks. You got out of school, and we took public buses. So you had whatever line you were, if you were walking home, you'd go with this one. And it was a K through 8 school. So there were 8th graders with their, patrol guard things on, and we walked, and you stayed in your ranks. I know Melissa's sitting over there nodding, because she knows this well, too.
Really?
Yeah, and this is another thing that we can tie this further. I mean, the high school students are always looking for community service hours. They get out earlier. They could be the patrol guards and coming down to the other school and walking the kids home. And we're working again on that physical activity, social, so many things this ties into.
Yeah, you're kind of saying we're going back to the future, kind of. Because I think a lot of us in this room did that kind of thing. You know, we
Yeah,
walked to school uphill
my whole
both
life.
ways.
Yes,
right? Yeah.
absolutely.
Uphill
In
both
snow,
ways.
sleet, and
Yeah.
rain.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah,
But
that's
I
great.
guess- I'm sorry.
No.
I was just going to say, in some instances, I even think of my own children walking home. There's a sidewalk in one direction from the middle school, and then it stops in the other direction. And my children could walk home from school, but I can't let them on 135 or to the community center. Or,
Right.
Yeah.
so it's making things safe for them
Well-
as well as the obstacle.
And Gina and I were talking earlier, because in terms of the safety stuff, I mean, we do have a safety committee, and what I shared with Gina, not to devalue all the time spent on looking at safety around the big horrible things that we all fear coming to Ashland, but really it's the everyday mundane things that our kids do. So that safety piece is huge, and so if we could find a way that kids could walk safely, you know, that, to me, that's where our efforts ought
Focus,
to be.
yeah.
You know, and looking at the everyday things that our
Quality of
children
life
do.
issues.
That are both quality of life and safety.
Right.
And
Sure.
focus efforts on that. And so if there are ways, I mean, so there's, I think what you were saying too, is there's so many ways to look at this. It's a wellness issue, it's, you know, it's a quality of life, and it's, you can tie it to
Environment.
curriculum, you can tie it to the environmental stuff, so I'm on board.
Good. Well, yeah, it's just wonderful all the way around, in my opinion. And I will send you all that link as well,
Please.
to Safe Routes to School. And then our diversity out front here in the middle school, it had a hard winter. But
We all did, Lisa.
the daffodils are coming up. The daffodils are coming up. Actually, there was one day, it was the end of March. We figured it'd be safe. It was like March 28th, and I had the arborist from Wellesley College come out to help me because we're going to prune the tree. And I mean, our hair was straight out. It's like, don't cut the hair, cut the branch. But we got it trimmed back. She said it's in, you know, lost a couple branches this winter, but it's looking good. We've ordered the sign that will be out there, which is wonderful. It was drawn by Wellesley College students who designed the guild, and it's welcoming to our diversity program, which Mr. Larson, I don't think you were here when we started this, but it evolved kind of, it was a Wellesley resident who is the Hindu advisor at Wellesley College. And they got a grant, it was from President Obama, and it was a campus challenge to bring different faiths together. And she and I were talking about it. This sprang out of the farmer's market too, because I used to meet with that group, and that's where we met. And she said, wouldn't it be wonderful if we did something with a garden to show how plants can support each other? And it takes so many different things to work together to repel bugs, to bring in the right nutrients, all that. So we worked with the director of the botanical gardens at Wellesley College, and she made it for her students a course where they had to develop a guild that would support an Asian pear tree, and the one we have is different varieties of Asian pear trees together, and then all the plants that would support it so it could be grown organically. And it was a great lesson in also community. And you know how it takes a village, as the kids sang about tonight so beautifully, to bring it all together. And the sign is going to be wonderful. We went to Cushing Park to look at those that were really sturdy and would withstand the weather and everything. We've put it on order. It should be here in May, and I hope to do a little ceremony around that when we put that in, and I'll let you know when that is. Hopefully it will be in bloom by then, and spring will really be here. But the sign will talk about the different plantings, what went into it, and we're looking at sustaining it with students.
Right.
Yeah, Jerry Sprague from here went out with a bunch of students and did the weeding. So we've had different people involved, and it's been really fun.
Yeah, sounds lovely.
Yeah,
It does.
it's really nice. And with that, I say we need no price increase next year. We did our price
Happy
increase,
about
even that they changed on us mid-year. I didn't want to do a price increase last year, but we were mandated to do it, and then they came back with something and said, okay, well, we're not going to make people do that. There's an equity tool we have to use every year, so we're okay now for a while, and I really don't recommend a price increase.
That's great, thank you.
Wonderful.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? I just want to thank you for your commitment
Yeah.
to wellness, you know, in all different ways. It's just so
Yes,
awesome.
all different ways.
And all the things that you're saying are so exciting, and I love that the staff has access to the mindfulness and yoga classes, and I'd love to see that trickle down to the kids, you know, at some point. That's something that's really important to me, is giving them those tools as they navigate their way through this.
Absolutely.
You know.
Actually, that came up when we were discussing the wellness policy. There was a parent there of a Mendez student who was talking about that, mindfulness in the classroom, and I believe there's someone at the high school that's applying for a grant looking at and bringing that in as well.
That'd be
So
awesome.
there's a lot of things. And the, you know, when your letter that you read, beautifully written letter at the beginning of this, you were talking about how everything is looking up for Ashland. And I agree, and when you talk to, when you listen to people who talk about the happiest communities in the States, the one thing they all have in common is wide sidewalks. This was fascinating to me. They all have wide sidewalks because it brings people out.
Yeah.
They can walk, they see each other, they talk, they go to community events. I mean, the farmer's market has done so much for bringing people together, and sidewalks will help that as well. There's a gentleman named Mark Fenton, he lives in Situate, Mass, and he's done, he's a professional walker. He was in the Olympics for speed walking. And he goes around helping places all over the country figure out how to make their towns more livable. And it can show you great results from towns that put in sidewalks. And it does improve the quality of life.
Wow, thank you.
Well, I do
Thank you,
appreciate that
Lisa.
you're working not only on behalf of the schools, but you're such a great link to the community, and it's really important, because there's a lot of people in the community that, you know, we can bring them into the schools for all the great things that you have in mind, and it sounds like you're kind of in touch with all of those groups, the sustainability folks, the farmers market. These are our really progressive thinkers we have out there that are working on a lot of these things, and I respect their work so much, and I just really am happy that as a representative of the schools that you're making that link, so hats off.
Well, thanks.
And Lisa,
Great song, It Takes a Village.
Lisa, I just want to make sure, too, that I mentioned, I love following you with the tweeting. If you're not following her on Twitter, you might want to do that.
Patting her tonight.
Me too. Well, thank you for all you do. You're awesome.
So we
Thank
need a
you.
motion,
We need a
right?
motion.
We need to do our motion.
So I'll move to approve fees for the Ashland School Lunch Program for the 2014-2015 school year as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have, Melissa, you've waited so patiently.
We're gonna wait there.
Probably still beaming with pride over those kids of yours. That was fantastic.
They were amazing, and I appreciate the opportunity to bring them to you because they work very hard, but they're a little bit isolated because it is after school, and their parents get to appreciate it, but their peers don't. And so this is an opportunity for them to be televised. Maybe people TiVo it or DVR that is?
Yeah.
And be able to watch it that way. And then hopefully we will be able to get it up on the website so that as people from the community look at the extended day program, then they can see that as well. And people who are considering moving to Ashland quite often go to the website, and that will just give them a little taste.
Sure. It's great taste.
Great
Yeah, it's
thinking.
wonderful.
We've had a great year at Extended Day this year. We're celebrating our 25th anniversary, and we just had a big anniversary party in March on one of the early release days, we combined all 3 programs together at the Mendez. We bussed over the Pitaway and the Warren students, and all the staff came. We even had staff come who no longer work at Extended Day. They came back for that, which was very nice. It was an early release day, so we had the whole day to be together. We had guests come in. We filled the gym with inflatables. We had anniversary cake. The older students got to be with their younger brothers and sisters for a change, which was very nice. They enjoyed doing that. We brought in a gentleman who has done, I'll call it military style, Simon Says, with the Red Sox and the Celtics, and he kept everybody going. Then he put the staff on display and did a program, Simon Says, with them. And everybody just, it was like the invasion of Normandy, because there were so many moving parts, it could have gone drastically wrong. And it was the highlight of the year. It was very good. And I look forward to the next one, maybe not the next 25th, I won't be here maybe for that, but certainly the 30th I'll be here. So that was pretty good. And we started the year off in an interesting way. At the end of August, we realized that space was extremely tight at the Warren School. And so through the efforts of the administration, Mr. Kyra, Ms. Clenchy, Mrs. Duran, and certainly not least Eric Heidemann and his staff, within 2 weeks, a classroom was created out of nothing. And I'm sure you've had a chance to go by the Warren and see the room, and to think where we were on August 15th and then where we were on the first day of school was just amazing. And the staff just pulled it together and they made it happen. So we were very, very grateful to everybody for that, to make that happen. Another exciting thing is that at the Pitaway Extended Day for the kindergartners, we have a full music program. There's no music offered for the kindergartners, so we've been providing that every other week, and it's been so successful and so well received that next year it's going to be weekly. So that's really nice, and no additional cost to parents. It's just part of the tuition. And one thing I wanted to talk about was I was challenged in my evaluation last year to take a look at the technology use at Extended Day, both with the students and personally. And so that's what I made one of my goals this year. And I didn't bring the list with me, but the things that have been going on have been incredible. We purchased 10 iPads and an iPad cart that are used every day in study hall. It's been an immense help, especially with students on IEPs or 504s who can look up things. The older students, especially the 6th graders, they can look up things on the internet, but then to have a child that has fine motor be able to type his spelling words and then email them to Mr. Bernard is just such a relief for the child, the parents, the teacher, and for us, because we can help them be more successful that way. We've used the iPads in other ways too. In gym, we did an iPad scavenger hunt, where they were given a list of things and let loose in the building with supervision, where they had to take photos of things and then come back and get points for them. And it just got them out and about moving around in the building rather than just being in the gym. We developed an iPad club. We had a parent on the parent advisory board who retired from teaching and offered to help us do that. And we had, I think, 27% of the students were able to complete the program, and we have a waiting list for next year. She used a program called Book Creator that was incredibly successful. The students wrote their own stories, they edited them, they imported photos, they imported video, their own sound, and then they were able to share them with their peers, and then they're in the iPad library where the students can take them out and look at them. And we put through some professional development money and worked with Mr. Irving because he would like to have some of the teachers at the Mendez School also trained in how to do that. The app is very inexpensive, and then if we can get that out to everybody, all the better, that more students can do that. We started doing electronic communication with the parents much more than we ever did before. We no longer send home newsletters, hard copies. If a parent wants it, they can have it, but When we first told parents that we were going to do this, and we said, please let us know if you don't want it. We did it a little different than in the school where they opt in. This was an opt out, and the response has been incredible, where people are actually emailing me back right away, like, oh, I noticed this, or I didn't know about that. I would just find the hard copies in the recycle at the end of the night, so that's been really nice. We did virtual lost and found, where we took photos of things that were left behind that had been there for weeks. And all of a sudden I got emails, oh, those are my boots. Oh, I think those are mine. So that helped a lot. Field trip permission slip reminders, everything is just so much more instant. It's just so convenient. On the early dismissals because of the weather, we were able to communicate instantly with parents and just have them email right back, what are your child's plans, produce a list, email it out to the entire staff, done. No worries, no safety problems. Everybody was accounted for and taken care of. So I wish Mrs. Duran was here. I could thank her for giving me the technology challenge, because that's the tip of the iceberg, and it's been great, and not necessarily something that I would have looked at, because at Extended Day they're active, they're moving, they're in the gym, they're cooking, they're doing science experiments, they're going on litter bug walks. So to sit down and use an iPad, I thought, oh, maybe we need to be just busy and not have our face on the screen, but we struck a great balance, and it's been very, very effective. The staff got into it, one for our variety show, which we do every year. All the kids are up doing something, but I had a staff person who said, I want the kids to create their own music video. So they took Katy Perry Roar. She stripped all the sound out of it and videoed the kids. And then that was the act for the variety show for that particular group of kids who didn't necessarily want to be up on the stage but wanted to be involved. So it just went places I never dreamed of. So we were very, very happy about that. We were able to purchase an Eno board for the Mendez School that is in the STEM lab. So the school has access to it. Terry Henry uses it when she comes over for STEM. But then it also, obviously is accessible to the Extended Day program. I could keep going.
Sounds like not only did you meet your technology goal, you far exceeded it.
We tried. That's how we roll.
Yeah, that is how you roll.
You kind of love your job, don't you?
Oh my God! Don't tell me.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
I'd probably do it for free. 25 years and just every morning. I mean, you can't fake it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's great. What a great story.
Yeah, it's been great. We redid the lights in the Mendez stage because you couldn't even do a blackout. It was so bad. So now you can do a blackout, and it's for everybody. Everybody's there. We as you can see, I'm really here about the budget, but as you can see, we have a great budget, and we were able to contribute $20,000 towards the Warren School, not the Warren School, I'm sorry, that was last year. The Mendez School playground repairs.
Right. I was gonna ask
that's in the works,
The improvement.
but the money is there. It's been put aside. So that was nice. And the main thing is that we're not going up on tuitions. This is, I think, it's at least the 5th year in a row that we have not had to go up on tuitions, but not sacrifice anything from budget. In fact, we're adding things like the iPad club that parents did not pay for. Parents no longer pay for field trips. Parents no longer supply T-shirts for the kickball league uniforms that the kids tie-dye. So we just keep looking for ways to take the tuition and give it back to the families where it belongs. That's the whole point. That was why the program was created 25 years ago, to take money out of the private sector and put it into the community. So that's what we've been trying to do.
Well, I want to thank you for all the contributions. Put it back into the schools as well, because we do benefit from a lot of them. We're well aware of all the ways that you've contributed to our schools, like the playgrounds and all the various things, the lights you just mentioned. So I just want to express appreciation for that.
Absolutely, but we get so much more back. And I think that Warren School classroom is a perfect example that without every single person doing their part and more, we would have been out on the street. So,
Well, but also,
Yeah,
but
you
part
were
of that
very
story is that you
gracious
were
and
willing to
flexible.
sort of
Yes.
work on find a solution in
Right.
short order.
Yeah,
That's the
don't
way
sell
I heard
yourself
the
short. We
story.
really
What I
appreciate,
heard the story was is that
Yes,
you
how
stepped up and
fabulous you
said,
were.
let's fix this, and you were
Yeah.
ready to do that, so we do appreciate that.
And I'm
as
going to
well.
reaffirm that that's exactly what they
right.
heard.
That's what we heard, and that's the story we're going with.
all right, all
That's
right, well,
right.
then, okay then.
For your evaluation next year, you've got to learn how to take a little more credit.
Oh, all right.
You
Is that on
deserve it.
record?
Yes, yes, because I can tell you're the kind of person that you want to be generous and give everyone else the credit. You're amazing. Your program is amazing. Seriously, year after year. My kids have been in this school district for a long time. My oldest is in his 20s. Every single year, your program gets so many compliments. My kids, some of them have been in it. The kids that come before us are amazing. Your enthusiasm after all this time, when so many people are just like, oh, same old, same old. It's just, thank you for everything that you've done, and we really appreciate you. Yeah.
Well, can I just say too, I was at the Mendez, and this is probably just what you do every day, but I happened to be at the Mendez for the marathon thing, and I looked over, and it was during the school day, and you were helping out with the kids in the gym, and I'm like, you're just sort of a presence that's extra help, and I'm sure that's routine for you, but I was like, sort of like, oh, that's so nice. You're there, you're with the kids, you're totally, you know them all, so.
Yeah.
It's all good.
You've been a gift to our community for a long time.
Oh, it's a
And,
dream job.
yeah. That's so nice to hear you say that.
I just got just a couple of quick budget questions, just for my clarification.
Sure.
So the improvement to the recreational facilities was at the Warren School? It was the playground, is that right?
Are you talking about this current year?
The
The 50,000?
14?
The 13-14, yeah, the
20,000 of that was for Warren, that didn't get moved over into the Warren column last year, so that's 20,000 for Warren, and then 20,000 for Mendez for the
Okay.
repairs that we need, and then the other 10,000 was the Eno board and the lighting system and the auditorium and things like that.
Okay, and that
So when
was
it says recreational, it's sort of an umbrella.
Yeah, okay, but that was, so the schools, it was at the Warren School and the Mendez School?
Yes.
Okay, that's where it was. And then, and this is a revolving fund of some sort?
Yes.
The projected ending fund balance, June 30th. So I'm just noticing that looks like it's spiraling down?
We're trying to, yes.
You're trying to spend it down?
Yeah.
Okay, we're trying to spend it down to zero.
Well,
Okay.
no,
Not to zero, no, but-
No, but to a safe cushion with not too much extra.
I got it. Okay, so that's where that is, okay.
Any other questions?
No, that's my question.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you
terrific,
very much.
Melissa,
Yeah.
thank you.
Did we approve this?
Do we don't need to approve, do we need
You
to
don't,
approve
you don't
those
need to
fees?
approve this, but you just need to make a motion about the fees.
That's what I need a motion.
Okay,
So there needs to be a motion, move to approve fees for the extended day program for the 2014-2015 school year as presented.
I'll second that move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, good
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks again.
Thanks for bringing the
Thanks,
kids.
Melissa, thanks, Lisa.
Bye, Lisa.
And Eric, you're not next, but we're going to let you be next so that you can.
So you can leave.
Right.
Go home. Oh, my gosh.
That was the best I could do. You had to sit there for
You are-
3 hours.
And yours is probably the shortest.
Right.
You're
all of
a
it.
good troop. Damn.
Thank you, Eric.
It's all right. I'll try to be brief. Just bringing back before you the completed standard operating procedures for the custodial union. We've been working on this collaboratively over the whole school year.
Yes.
I know it's already been submitted to the school committee. There was some grammatical changes that were requested. Those have been changed and resubmitted back. The union did have some feedback. They did want a paragraph inserted into the front, which you should have in your copies as well, where they just wanted some wording specifically related to aggressive disciplinary for any type of reasons that happen during resulting from the guidelines specified here. We really just wanted to get across to them that this is more of a guideline to strive towards, but we realize that with limited resources, that perhaps everything in this guideline may not be feasible on a day-to-day basis. So that was the big thing with it. Other than that, the union voted on this on Tuesday, and by majority vote, they ratified to move forward with it. So that's why it's here before you tonight.
Great.
And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is this a 1-year operating procedure, or is this 3 years, or how does this have to be
Or
approved every
forever
year?
until it's changed?
Yes,
Oh, it says school year.
It's got school year on it right now.
Yeah.
And I think that really, we started this actually last year, when we started to take a look at creating something like this. And I think it arose too, if memory serves me right, out of the last, I believe the last negotiation. So there's some history to this. So it's been a long time in coming. So I think right now this is just for this school year at this point in time. I think that that's as far as we're taking it.
So would we have it back in September to get something in place for the next school year? I
You
mean,
may well.
Yeah, okay.
I think the first time we brought this before school committee, I want to say it was close to, I think it was in September of this last school year.
Yeah.
It's been floating around for a while.
It was quite a long time ago,
But I'm just wondering, now that all that hard work's been done, and there's only, 6 weeks left in the school year, 2 months, whatever it is,
Yeah.
what happens at the end of that?
There may just be some modifications, minor modifications, but I'm sure we'll carry this on to next
I
year.
think the bulk of this, the intent, the spirit of intent, and that's, I think, really what we need to be looking at, is the spirit of intent of this, is to carry forward. So it's not that every year the whole thing would dramatically change. I would agree. Maybe some tweaks here or there, but I think it's kind of like another handbook in some ways, to be honest
Yeah,
with
right,
you.
right.
You
Yeah.
know, so.
Right, guidelines.
Yeah,
And I think it was something that should have been done a long time ago, so I'm really pleased to see it's come this far, and I'm delighted that the union's ratified.
yeah, it's gonna be great for the principals to kind of have a tool to work off of, so they
I
know
agree.
what the custodians are responsible for. And also, when we have substitute custodians filling shifts, they also have some sort of guideline to
Guidance.
know what's expected of them. So it really helps us from a managerial perspective.
Yeah. Well, this is really crisp. I mean, this.
Yeah. I want to say, I like the language on page 3, where you talk about the importance of the job and public relations. I think those are really, I'm appreciative of the fact that you included that. And I guess my question is just, and I know it's all ratified, is this just an articulation of what is already out there? I appreciate that it's sort of good that principals sort of have it. I guess my question is in the day-to-day operations, do you expect to see any changes as a result of this? Or does this just more specify what has already been happening?
For the most part, a lot of it may have been happening. There may be some questions at certain locations. We kind of just wanted to create a standard across all 5 locations, so there's no question, there's no different procedures being taken place across the board. So we just kind of wanted to create standard procedure for everyone.
Yes, that's good for you.
And I think it really goes back to, again, I know Mr. Lynn brought this up again tonight about calibration, and it's really, again,
Yes.
something that we've been working on for 2 years now, not just with this, but with everything. And so, again, this is another one of those things that you should be seeing just right across the district now, trying to bring that level of consistency there.
So, just one other quick question, which is, and I will confess that I didn't read the specifics, because I don't really know much about restroom, the cleaning, other than what I do in my own house. But how did you approach the whole green cleaning kind of thing? Was there an approach on that, or is it sort of?
This document itself, actually, the template for it came from the Massachusetts Facility Administrators Association. So this is used commonly across the Commonwealth by a lot of facilities departments. So Ashland kind of took this and created our own little version of it.
Sure.
Working with the members of the union, specifically related to our buildings and how we perform day-to-day operations. We tried to use what's been done in past practice, but also to ensure the safety of all of the employees, especially when handling dangerous chemicals and things such as that.
Sure.
So as far as being green, I mean, we will be relooking chemicals that may be used in the back. You could see we named specific chemicals, but one thing we did mention with the union was this may be something that's modified over time as we switch chemicals or what products we decide to use in the school locations.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, I can just sort of see that that's where this industry is going, really, so. Great work.
Yeah, excellent.
And I was pleased to see there is more time spent in classroom cleaning than any other phase of custodial duties. So the learning spaces are the highest priority, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, we really try to steer the custodians towards spending the most time mostly in the bathrooms, classrooms, and the hallways. We like to try to keep a neat appearance at the school system, but when we do have shortages of staff, that's usually the main focus is bathroom and classrooms. I mean, that's the most important thing for the learning environment.
Keep the germs out and keep kids
Yeah.
healthy as possible. Yeah. No, this is great. I think it's even helpful for us to see all the different pieces of the job and what the expectations are, and I just found it really helpful just to understand what the department does.
So, maintenance of like water heaters, boilers, I don't see any of that in here. Is that?
We have actually a maintenance division. This is kind of just, there's
Yeah.
17 custodial employees.
it.
This is just pertaining to the 17 custodian employees.
Okay, thank you for making that
Maintenance
distinction.
is separate.
Right, okay, so you have probably something similar to this for the maintenance folks and their operations manual. and-
At this time, we do not, but we
No,
are
there's
working.
nothing there right at this point in time. This is our first foray into this.
Okay, so that'll be coming perhaps.
I don't know if that's come up yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll be collectively bargained like the custodial one.
Like this is, yeah.
It may be more, developed by management and set the standard specs for each piece of equipment that we have at the school system.
I see it as being a very different animal, to be honest with you, because this is pretty standardized in its expectations in every building. Maintenance is really so many different things. I mean, when they come in the morning, they really don't know what they're gonna be hit with throughout the course of the day. So it's a very, very different operation than this particular piece is. So this would be easier, I think, to calibrate than the maintenance department. I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm just saying it would be very, very different.
I'll agree with you there.
Good idea.
Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
Move to approve the custodial standard operating procedures as presented and let Eric go home.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you for your incredible patience tonight,
Incredible
Eric.
patience.
Thank you.
Thank you
It
very
was
much.
a long one, the handbooks.
What was the second?
Mark, did you second that?
I
Who seconded? Gina seconded.
Okay, we're almost there, people.
Almost.
Getting
I
close.
thought this would be a short meeting.
Handbooks took a long time.
The handbooks did take a long time, but aren't they so great?
They are great.
Oh, my gosh.
No, I
Yeah.
think it's been great.
It's been a very
Time
good
well
job.
spent.
Yeah, it's so nice to have that
really is.
done.
They really embraced the task. They really did.
Well, and I personally loved seeing the leadership coming out from the seconds. I mean, you saw the
Yes.
deans present and the.
Yes.
And they all stayed together.
And the assistant principals, and you notice that everybody stayed until everybody
Yes,
was
they
done,
did.
both nights.
Yeah,
So
they did.
wonderful team effort and again, a wonderful sense of spirit. And you did a fantastic
They
job
did the
there.
work. They
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
stepped up and did their thing.
It was good. It was a good process for all of us.
It was, though, and Rich, you really did do a good job of pulling it together. When we talked about it at the beginning of the year, we knew it was a big job, but I am so happy. It's something that's never been done in the years I've been involved, and I'm really
And it's a nice product. It's a great end product.
And I think over time, more eyes see it, you guys have
Right.
read it, and
Yeah.
now you're seeing the things that you might want to tweak or, have suggestions, and I'm sure as more parents see it, there are going to be things that come out that,
Right.
someone calls and says, hey, did you think about this? And we're going to say, geez, we didn't,
Yeah,
thanks.
and there's an excellent base.
And as much as we've read these over and over again tonight,
We're
he and I were
finding little
both making
stuff.
additional notes
More
as we were
notes,
finding things, like and it's small things, but it's just like,
This-
yeah, let's look into this.
It
or
will
let's-
never end.
Let's talk about this again
We'll always
tomorrow.
be tweaking, I
Well,
think.
I appreciate the consistency too, especially with Pat White at the very youngest is thinking ahead, like, let's set the routine now. I think that's great thinking. Oh, yeah, sure, with the procedures and things like that, and to carry it and to see that transition, I think that's great.
Well, and I think even the PBIS concept, like
Yeah,
every
yes.
school has got
Yeah.
those core values. Every school has the monthly
Yeah.
meetings. Every school
Right.
does. And there's enough autonomy that they can do it on their own that works for
Yes.
them, but it's just beautiful to see it coming
Yeah,
together.
It
There's
is.
some nice threads that work their way through each
Yeah.
area
Yeah.
that connect from school to school, and even from the littlest to the oldest, you know.
From the
It might not
weest.
look exactly the same, but the ideas behind it are the same. So
Mm.
it's kind of a nice sort of connecting thread that really
Yes.
ties our schools together. So it's.
And I think these handbooks are one of those threads too now, I think.
Thank you, Rich. Great job leading that effort. It's so nice to have it, like, it's been ongoing for a while. It's nice to have.
I felt that way, and now I have all these
Yeah.
changes again. I'm like, I gotta get back at it.
It's not, nothing too major, right?
No, they're not. They're
Yeah,
tiny,
so
but
hopefully,
it's
it'll be
that-
easier then. At least you have the framework and
Yeah.
the template, and you just go pop it in,
Absolutely.
and then you're done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so now we flipped around, we had Eric go first, we're doing the mid-cycle. Not so much the review, because Brooke, this is part two. For anybody not watching, a couple weeks ago, we have to do, in accordance with the superintendent evaluation tool, a mid-cycle, it's basically a check-in, where we just take a look at where we're at with the goals, and how we're doing, and what kinds of things that we need to work on, and what things are going great. And Superintendent Clenchey presented an excellent slideshow, and you went through all the benchmarks and all the, key points. And what we did afterwards was take a look at your slides and asked everyone to give me feedback on how the committee was feeling about how we were doing with the goals. So essentially, the goals are right on track, as you stated. Yeah, really great job working along with those SMART goals. Some of them have already been met. Many of them are, well on their way to being met. And the ones that weren't quite there yet, you explained, and there were reasons for them. Lots of great feedback about the many strengths that you have, communicating with the public, leading the efforts like the handbook and the new district website, leading the evaluation tool in the district, which is now year 2, and that's been a huge undertaking, both years. Some of the other comments were about how you work with your administrative team. Everybody was very complimentary about your management style and your management skills and out there in the public. There were a few things that people wanted to hear more about, not because we didn't think they were happening, but just in line with the goals that this committee set at the beginning of the year. We wanted to just hear more about how things are going in the different buildings with the RTI program, for instance. And we heard from Lisa tonight, too, about some of the wellness-related activities and civic engagement and things that are a little bit new in our goal set, but just so we want some feedback on how it's going. But as far as we know, it's happening, and just love more information about it. There are a couple areas that we talked about where we will all work together in improving. Some areas around school committee communication, managing conflict, some questions about delegation, budgeting, and policy. So we agreed we're going to work together. Everybody feels very confident that we will get to the end of the year and have lots of good things to say about all that stuff. So we thank you for working together with us on those things that make us a stronger team. And we thank you for all the work you do. And if anybody wants to chime in, feel free.
Well, I think I speak for all of us on the board when I say we're very fortunate to have Brooke Clenchey as our superintendent of schools here in Ashland.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would say, too, coming back, I love being here, and it has been just such a joy, and I'm going to go back to parents, and, I said to you a couple of weeks ago, I've only had a handful of parents, and of course, you just say that, and next thing I know.
The floodgates open.
You didn't knock on wood.
I said to Karen, where did all this come from? She said, I don't know, people just want to give feedback. I have met with so many parents over the course, I would say, the last 2 to 3 weeks, and I would say, I don't know who made the comment in here tonight, but somebody made a comment, and I thought that's exactly how I feel. Parents are so receptive, and they're so good to deal with. And I haven't had one bad parent meeting. So when you talk about the community, you just can't help but feel good about working in Ashland. And I'm not being flippant when I talk about Friday night's gala. And
Mm-hmm.
you sit there with 400 people in such a warm environment. I mean, in terms of everyone's kind, everyone's generous and gracious, and it was just, wow, what a night, and it's just, to me, it was symbolic of what Ashland is. I was in a meeting today, and you take those few moments about the bragging rights, yes, I want you to know about Park. I want you to know that, did we have a glitch or two? Yes, but for the most part, our IT department was so on top of it. When I saw that, when I first saw the pop-up of the new website, I mean, I've seen it a million times, but to see it live was like, yes!
So exciting, yeah.
It was so exciting because we spent so much time and care on that website. And to see it come through, it's just like, oh, it was so good.
Yeah, and we thank you for being
So-
responsive to that, because those are things we brought up in the beginning of the year as, we'd love to see handbooks be consistent or whatever, and here we are voting on them, and the website just came live, so it's so great to see the beginning of the
exciting,
process where we're all talking about it, and then have it.
It's come
Complete.
through to fruition,
Yes.
and one of the things, one of the parents brought up this week, and again, just great meetings with parents, and, the whole notion, and I almost hesitate to put this out there because I see this as something else down the road, but is there any way we can standardize some of the teacher websites? And it's again, and you said it so nicely tonight, and Mr. Larson, I can't remember what you were talking about, but as we try to navigate our way through some of the social media and everything else, these are first-time issues for us too, and it's like, how do we grapple with them? What can we do so that things are easy to find for our parents? And so, I just have to say.
Ideas.
I bet you do. I bet this is a topic of
Good.
conversation.
Now that you're done with the handbook.
Mrs. Durand is not here to worry about the financial aspects, so we can think outside the box on this one.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to work, it's an absolute pleasure to work in Ashland Public Schools.
Well, thank you for all you do, and we have absolute
Yeah.
confidence, that we're going to work together and make it even better.
Yeah, I would absolutely echo that sentiment.
Nice. No, except that I guess we're all gonna be working together for another year.
Oh, well, apparently, I'm running again and unopposed, so.
Unopposed.
So that gives us.
Congratulations.
There's a little bit of stability there.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so that gives us
Here.
more
Makes it the
opportunity.
consistency and the
It does,
continuity.
it does, it really
does.
makes a difference, and, I had a number of parents say that to me Friday night, how much they appreciate the stability that they're seeing within the district, and I know
Yeah.
I've said that to you before about our leadership team. And of course, you're our leadership team, when you take a look at, the org chart, I mean, you're at the top of that, and to have that same group continually move forward is so stabilizing for a district, so
And that was
congratulations.
a factor
That's
in my,
excellent.
decision, to be honest with you, because I was on the fence. Not because of anything going on here, but just to have more time for my family and other things that I've picked up along the way, and so I wasn't sure about. But I've felt so blessed to work with such a collaborative group, and I feel like everybody has the right skill set to bring to the table. Collectively, we are an excellent team, and we don't necessarily agree on everything, but it doesn't matter because we continue to respect each other, and we continue to tap into the best things that each member has to offer. And, we cherish our relationship with the administrative team and all of you, and so I just felt like it's going well, there's more to do, and, it was a big pull to hang in.
Well, I think
Yeah.
when you can see that as you said earlier, when you can see things coming through to fruition,
Yeah.
there's something exciting about that, and you're looking and saying, okay, so what is the next level? What, I remember saying to the commissioner, one of the gifts about working in Ashland is that it's a whole different type of work that we do here. You're trying to take something to another level. What is that next level going to be? And it's always exciting because you get the innovation coming through. You get all these different things, the flipped classroom, some of the things that we're doing in our classrooms that you'd like to take to a broader scale. And, you look at when Chad McGowan was in the other night, and the work that he's doing. I mean, we've got people that are doing such good things, but they need our support. They need us to understand the foundation from which they're working, and that's, again, the strength that continuous grouping provides.
Yeah.
So I think it's wonderful, so congratulations.
Oh, thank you, and
Well, we still need people to go out.
I just wanna,
Yeah,
I'm jumping, the board and administrators, what is this, a newsletter we get?
Oh, the newsletter that we
Yeah,
get,
we
yeah.
get this every meeting, and superintendent and board should protect each other and support each other and have each other's backs. And it's, it's very much along the lines of what you're talking about, so.
Yeah. It's
Says
all
it right
good.
there.
Yep, that's the mission.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, onward to action items and future agenda items.
I did put down both RTI and wellness on there. Now, tied in with RTI is probably PBIS as well.
Yeah.
And I actually spoke specifically with Principal Kyra and suggested that he might want to come in and he and Assistant Principal Condon, because they were the ones that probably did the most dramatic shifts for RTI this year. And they also did some trial runs of some of the work that we want to take, again, when we're talking about the next level, to the next level next year. So I thought that it might be interesting for you to hear the work that they're doing
Sure, yeah,
there.
I think so.
But RTI right now is running in all buildings. So it's running at right from the baby schools, like from Warren all the way through to the high school right now.
And, I had heard that I think it was somebody at the high school applied for a BAA grant to bring yoga to the high school. And I don't know what that process is, but if we can help in any way, just letting whomever know that sort of fits in with goals that we've set for the district, I certainly would be happy to step up and help out with that, just providing more information if that's going to help. But I'm thrilled certainly that things like that are happening. So we'll add those to the list, and that's great. You'll let us know what the timeline is on that. Policy assignments, I know Kathy had gotten in touch with Mike Gilbert at some point to see where we were at. I think he said, I'll let you know, I'm still doing the editing, and it
Yeah,
doesn't
he
sound
had-
like you heard back yet.
Well, he had said, I think the end of March, so now it's April, so, and then in April, we would have something, so.
Okay,
I can
so
just
maybe
touch base
soon or
or
after
you or I
the
could-
vacation,
yeah,
sure.
talk with him.
I know Mr. Adams on the next one has already started the process of trying to assemble a committee to look into the high school start times.
He has.
I did get a call
Very
from the
nice
newspaper
letter.
today. Yes.
His
Right.
letter to the community, I just
Good.
thought it was well done. I mean, he
Yeah.
did a nice job of explaining it and
Yeah,
sort of
it was a good letter.
Right.
You're right.
providing the context, and I thought he did a nice job with that.
Yeah. School improvement plans, they're coming in May. Extended day, we just did that, so that's off. Metro West Health Survey, we have that for April. This is our last April meeting. I don't know if there's still an opportunity for
Fit
them.
them in May.
Put that down for May, let's see. We're waiting on something still for the naming of school property, some time to pass, right? We
That's
had to
correct.
meet a deadline. We had Lisa Bowden in today, so that was great. EMFs again in the fall. Sustainability Committee, have we looped back around with them?
Well, Rich was going to meet with them, and then kind of an issue, emergency sort of came up, so that meeting got canceled. So did you reschedule it yet, Rich?
I have
or
not.
You're working on that? Yeah. So
Okay.
there was going to be a meeting, and then has to be rescheduled.
Custodial standard, I feel so efficient tonight.
look at this.
You cross a lot of things
We're
out.
crossing off the next two. Custodial standard operating procedures, student handbooks, we did that.
And then,
Policy retreat,
is that what we're talking about, the handbook,
Well, I think that what we were looking at for the policy retreat, I think we had talked about it before and said,
We're
we
gonna
probably
need
wanted
time.
to sit down and, rather than do it at meetings like this,
Yeah.
we might
Right.
as well just
We're
sit
gonna need
down
that.
and look at the whole, rather
Right.
than parts, look at the sum.
right,
So I think that's why we'd said we might as
Do you
well
want to
plan a
contact
retreat.
Mike again?
Sure.
All right.
absolutely.
Do we have a plan for setting aside some summer dates sooner rather than later?
That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
that is a
And
great
so,
idea.
Summer retreat, right?
Do people know generally what their plans are? Gina, you say yes, so why don't you go
You
first?
already know your
Or
schedule?
generally, like when will you be away for August? Will you be in town?
I'll be gone for 2 weeks in August.
Okay.
I can have Karen send a note
Okay.
around
All
and
right,
get
why
some
don't we do
feedback
that?
from you.
Yeah, why don't we
Okay.
start
This
talking
is,
about that?
that seems to be, if we can set aside some dates, and even, but maybe we should also have some sense of how much time we think we need. If we're doing like a day for the policy, then you know, do we need a second day for some of the stuff that was more typical for a summer activity? And
yeah.
this may be where you want to jump in.
Our summer, our summer workshop was, we started it, we had a day, and then we had to do a second day. And did we even do a third day? I mean, our summer workshops.
We need 2 days this year, at
We
least.
do need 2 full
Last
days.
year,
If I recall, summer, we ended up doing a lot of regular work as opposed to summer retreat. I can't remember, but that was my sense.
I think you're right.
Leftover stuff.
Oh.
So the key would be to really get a day that's really different, that we're
Right.
not doing business. right?
Yeah. A full day, maybe?
Mark?
Nowadays.
Yeah, so I want to thank the superintendent a second time for this book
Yeah.
because
That was
I-
last year's reading.
right. So I read this at the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
and I've recently started rereading after just about a year of experience on the
Oh,
board.
right, yeah.
And, you know, going this whole left brain, right brain synthesis after a year's experience on the board, what a difference. I mean, the meaning that I'm
Oh, yeah,
deriving from
right.
this. So I'm hoping we can get a
Wanna-
chance to maybe do a workshop.
Discuss that one this year?
Yeah, there's a lot of
Don't
great
assign a new
ideas.
book, we'll reread it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
It is a
Yeah,
great book.
and I would
Well,
agree
have
with
it.
you. Once you've had some seasoning and you read it again, you see it through a different lens.
Absolutely. It talks about power sharing, it talks about building trust and relationships.
And what
with it.
makes a good school committee.
And it's
good-
it's
good
very well written, and
practices,
it's,
yeah.
you know, talks about governance in the age of accountability, and I think it's really worth the chance to for
Sure.
all of us.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a lot
I
of
was-
concepts
right.
in here that
Yeah.
I'm finding very helpful in understanding our role as board members and our role
Right.
as a board, and understanding the roles of administrators,
Yeah.
and identifying the strengths we have as a board, the strengths
Right.
that the administration has, and then the gray areas in
Right.
between, and how we bridge those gaps is really all fodder for discussion
Yeah.
for us to be
Right.
an effective, highly effective, not just effective, but highly effective.
Yeah, highly. Yeah, I like that. No, I like that.
Yeah.
Would our whole retreat be based around that, you think, or
I think
forget?
I
What
could
else?
see one workshop on.
As he's talking, I'm thinking
this
maybe
alone.
before the summer, do one on that, so
Oh,
that when,
that's my thought.
we can on the summer, but if we did it maybe as our one final thing before we close the year, and then go into the summer having this idea of how we want to move forward and work
that's
on
true.
whatever's coming ahead. That's
Well,
an idea.
actually, you read my mind, because but I wasn't thinking necessarily about that, but I was thinking, should we do that policy retreat before the summer? So-
If it's ready.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true too, that's true
Yeah.
too.
I would agree, if it's ready.
Yeah,
Let's-
right, we could
let's
do
get
that
done.
and then save that for, doesn't matter to me, it just, if we did it, not like any time in the next few weeks, but maybe sometime mid-May, just to get something in before we part ways for a month or two.
That was one of the things you thought.
Yeah, I was hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were
I was
actually
hoping.
hoping the sooner the better.
So you'd like
Yeah.
to do this before we leave, before the summer type thing, is what you're
Yes.
thinking? Okay, sure.
Yes.
Well, everything's fresh in our minds, too, coming off a year of being on the board.
Yeah, it's
We
just
could
to
conclude,
reflect,
And then,
and
you
then,
know, we
reflect
could come
with
up
that,
with just,
sure.
we could sketch out some ideas and concepts that we agree upon.
Right.
And then even, it gives us a little chance to think about it over the summer, and then maybe come back together with some
Right.
creative ideas. That's what I'm thinking, that's kind of how I
yeah, I like that.
approach things.
I see you up at the whiteboard.
Yeah, I'm already thinking
He's
of
gonna
it
be with the
myself.
charts and the org chart. I report to you, you
I
report
shared
to
with
her.
Marcia this, I guess it's really just it's a sketch of, I was just thinking about the budgeting season. So I went back
Right.
to the bylaws and took a look at the bylaws and see how that budgeting process is laid out.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about the democratic theory that underpins that whole budgeting process, and the separation of the school district from the local government, and the
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen on this side, and, you know, they control the collection of revenue and that thing, and each year we need to come together to talk about an omnibus budget, and so there's a lot that I learned this year, and I just kind of want to share and see if others see it the same way.
Sure.
And it's just an opportunity to learn from each other and share ideas and see if we're all on the same page on some of those things, so
Yeah,
that's really what I want to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds great.
Sounds great.
It sounds
Yeah. Yeah.
fabulous,
That's really
and you kind of use the book as a guide to maybe apply it to some of
Yeah.
the situations
Yeah.
that we faced over the year, and then we
Yeah.
get together in the summer with our plan for moving forward.
I absolutely support the idea.
Yeah.
That's great.
And we'll deal with policy as it becomes ready. I mean, if it's ready
Yeah,
real
right.
soon and we want to
Yeah.
get it done, then we can set something aside. If not,
Right.
we'll do it in the summer. We might need 2 days in the summer anyway, because inevitably things do come up.
Things do come up.
And I feel strongly for that, I mean, for that period to be retreat, like a true,
Right,
real
yes,
retreat where
yes,
team
yes, yes.
building and things like that can
Right.
happen. So if you're
Yeah,
talking about.
exercises, right?
Yeah. I might throw a beach ball at you.
Yeah, you never know.
I like the beach ball
See,
one. I love
thank
it.
you, Brooke.
It's just the three of us.
One of my
You guys
favorites
did
to
the
do is a beach ball.
Yeah,
That was fun.
I thought so. I don't think Mark.
I don't
liked
think
it
Mr.
very
Jewett
much.
cared.
Yeah.
I had as much
He
fun
went
with it
along
as we
with it,
did.
though. Yeah.
He
It was
had
very
to.
good.
He had to, and he did.
Stop complaining. Have to think right at you. Okay, so we've got a good list of things to do. Does anybody have anything to add to that? Okay.
I just have a question on the high school start time. So I noticed that
Oh,
we'll
thank you,
need a
Gina.
school committee member on that
Yes.
committee.
Yeah.
Did you want to be on it?
What's the
When does that
process?
committee due to start meeting? Does he have a plan for that?
I think he's wanting to start right away. And it just incidentally, just let you know, we were both aware of the, I think one of you brought up Native. We were both aware
Yeah.
of that,
Yeah, last week.
and we have reached out.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had
But
talked about that
maybe we
last
should, I
week.
mean, since he's already, like, listed who, you know, what type of committee he's gonna want, and that it calls for one school committee member, and the board's not changing, so why don't we just do that now?
Yeah,
In
just,
case
I would
he
select
wants to
one.
get started. Okay, who wants to volunteer?
Did you want to be on it, Gina? Is that why you asked?
Okay,
I
Gina.
don't want to be on it. Do you want?
No.
Do you want to be on it, Marcia?
Did you see me?
No,
Mark?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to push back?
No, I don't mean no, because I don't want to be on it. I'm just
What is
busy.
it?
No, but you seem interested, right? Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine with me. I think that would be great.
Yeah, if you're expressing an interest and nobody else either can or,
I think Gina would be excellent.
think-
nominate
yeah.
Gina.
I
no.
second that.
No, and your
If we
kids are
need
the perfect age too to kind of have some context for it. So I think you're a great choice for that. So is everybody good with that?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Absolutely.
All right.
Wonderful. I'll let Mr. Adams know.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Gina.
All right, so I guess we need to move to go into executive session.
So.
I have one more thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark. Oh, we didn't do
We didn't go our updates.
Yes, all right, updates real quick.
Getting,
Gina's first.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Wait your turn.
Did you want to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay.
You go first.
Quickly went to the gala with a couple of you. It was beautiful.
It was very fun.
amazing. The new locale was fantastic. Some of our local parents played in the band at the beginning, which was really
That was
nice.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's nice.
And obviously, the committee worked really hard and
Yeah.
sold, almost 400 tickets.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. Went to the safety committee yesterday morning, just briefly. Officer Murray directed the meeting. We talked about continue to perform lockdown drills in all of our schools, and continue to work on the comprehensive emergency response plan. We talked about Alice again, and his experience with it, and continuing to move forward to get all the schools in a good place, to have them be safe and consistent, and locks. I was at the Mindus Marathon for a little while today. I didn't get to see the kids run. Did you stay for the run?
I saw them lining
Did
up.
they
and
run
I
in the
moved- I moved.
on the
I got
snowy
out of there before the roads were closed,
I
just
think
like I'm
things
gonna do
were-
Monday.
We're melting. By the time I
Oh,
drove
good.
up, things looked like they had melted. So Senator Spilka was there. There was a speech by she now lives in the Boston area, but a Greek runner. Mrs. Marcy gave some introduction, and of course we have two runners. Actually, I think we have quite a few runners from town running, but Mrs. Ames and Mrs. McSweeney are running again to finish this year. So, and then I did want to just say one thing I'll be doing this weekend is going to Boston on Saturday. 4 students from the middle school will be running a 1K, 1,000 meters, at the start. So we have Sean Lammerding, Julius Descartes, and Jack and Kaylee Donovan will be running on Saturday, and I'm very excited and honored
Exciting.
to be
Absolutely.
seeing my children do that, and the other children as well. So
Excellent.
that's it for me.
So, let's see, FinCom is meeting on Thursday, and I coordinated with Dan Conroy. The agenda is not necessarily geared towards much of anything that interests the school committee. So I chose not to attend, I will not be attending this Thursday's one, and that's fine. I need to be down the Cape for another Coast Guard weekend, which, means that I'm getting out on the water, which is my getaway, so. So no FinCom update, and the next meeting isn't until, annual meeting. So I won't have any updates before annual meeting. The other thing I wanted to bring up was the Day on the Hill. So Superintendent Clenchey mentioned last meeting that April 29th, which is a Tuesday, sponsored by M-A-S-C. So I signed up. I contacted
knew that.
Karen.
I was aware of that. That's awesome.
I sent that email to, I have it on my calendar, I just haven't
So
committed to
I
it.
sent an email to Karen asking her to register me. So I'm registered. I don't know if, are you attending?
Oh, yes, I always attend.
You always attend. That's what I thought.
It starts at 8:30, like how early a day is that you're gonna leave?
So,
You're leaving at
let's see,
7:30
coffee
in the
with
morning?
legislators in the Great Hall at 8:45
Yeah.
and to 9:30. And then there's 9:30 to 11:15 issue analysis in the Gardner Auditorium. And then 11:15 to 12:15, meeting with legislators again. 12:15 to 1:30 is lunch hosted by the Massachusetts Vocational Technical Schools in the Great Hall. And then 1:30 to 2:45, roundtable discussion in the Great Hall and the Grand Staircase. So that's kind of laid out, I think we all got one of these in the mail.
Yeah, and so you would go to those and we're listening? Is that what
So
you think it
you
is?
do a little bit, and I can, I'll
Yeah.
let you've been to this one, but I've been to similar ones.
Yeah, I go to that. I've gone to that every year for years now. And I've never done the meeting with the legislators before. So just when you're talking about how early, I've always gone in to start at, I think it's 9:30 is in Gardner.
9:30 is when the
Gardner.
issues analysis starts, so you could arrive at 9:30.
And it's really interesting because you'll have different groups basically report out to all kinds of people that are in that auditorium that morning and different, it could be different bills, it could be different, all kinds of different things, to be honest with you. So that to me is the key time that you want to be there, that 9:30 to 11:15. And then thereafter, you're gonna find people will break up and they'll start to meet and greet around and do different things. And then lunch is really important because it really is neat to see. It's a very different experience as you watch all of those technology or the technical schools present. It's phenomenal what they do. And then thereafter, yes, if you want to set up appointments with different legislators that are there, like very often I will go to see Senator Brewer, for example, and he chairs the Ways and Means. And I always like to go in and spend a few minutes personally with him if I can get in, which I always do. But, you may want to get in to see Senator Spilka or Representative Sanacandra.
I've already
or
contacted
anybody.
Representative Sanacandra's office and spoke with Ross Richmond, I guess one of his aides.
His aides probably, yeah.
Yeah, and at some point, if Karen could send just an appointment, I don't know if you want to sit down with Senator Spilka.
Yeah, very often you go together, like if there are a couple going, then you kind of tend to all go together if we
Right.
can get one time. So if you've already started that process, it wouldn't make sense for me to start it as well. If you've started it, then just let us know and then we can all funnel in
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. But I always find it
Karen
very.
gave us a nice tour. That was nice. She gave us a private tour of the State
Oh,
House.
nice.
You know?
Yeah.
Well,
Got to
you
see some
just,
of the Senate
there's
chamber
such
and all.
history in
Yeah.
there. You just
Oh, yeah.
feel the history.
See some of that stuff, but.
I got a great picture with her and my wife in the governor's office.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, right in front of the fireplace there.
Oh, nice.
Underneath, there's a wonderful portrait. Trying to remember who it is, and I can't think of it off the top of my head. So
Okay. I'll let you know.
yeah,
I'm on the fence. So, me, okay, heard that I was at the Mendez thing, which is just, sweet and wonderful, and it was good to see. Good to see the kids were very engaged. It was a happy day. It was I often say when I'm tired of all the sort of the
Yeah.
grown-up school committee stuff, I have to get in the schools, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I remember, I like this. And then actually even better, I went to the preschool for their open
Did you go?
house. That is.
Wasn't it precious?
Well, yeah, and you know what struck me as, somebody who did it, like forever ago, was looking at these young families and realizing they're the future of our schools, right? Because it's not just they have the little ones who are in preschool, they've got the little babies that are, and I was struck, given the conversations we've had about parents attending these events, and I looked around and it was the whole family. Both parents were able to come and go through and meet the teachers, and it was really a happy time. Really great stuff, and just all the clever stuff they're doing in those classrooms. And also, I would say too, is that our classrooms have evolved in the years since I've been there, because they had the screen up with the slideshow, and they had it was sort of, you had this blend of the old and the new. They still had the trucks made out of the cereal boxes, but then they had a lot of the technology stuff that the kids had done. So it was great. Happy times.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for representing us there at both, at the Mendez and the
it was a
the
pleasure.
preschool. I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
So my week has been quiet since last Thursday. So thank you for representing us.
I did go to the gala, which I agree with everything everybody said. Yes, Kathy was, well, last year she was my date. This year, this year we double dated. Exactly.
This year, yeah.
This year we double dated. I think it was more fun when you were my date.
Oh, my.
Just kidding, honey. But no, they did an amazing job. It was a great night, fun to see people. And even at the gala, Marcia, like, maybe just because I'm old, but it's the same kind of thing. You just look around and seeing all the younger parents and with so much energy and interest, and it was just a beautiful thing to see, And on the one hand, I'm thinking, like, I don't even know anybody in here anymore, but there's something about watching that happen that's really wonderful.
Yeah,
So, and it was well done, and thank you for doing that. I did liaison last week, but you probably already talked about it at last week's meeting, but I didn't go to last week's meeting. So liaison was another thing, and I think that's really it. I missed a couple things 'cause my daughter was sick, so I missed a negotiation.
Yes, but you were still involved in other meetings, like with the district. It's just.
It's been a lot of meetings.
It's been a lot of
Yeah.
meetings. I mean, whether it's negotiations or whether it's whatever.
Yes.
So you might think that you weren't busy, but really you were. You did a lot of other things.
Yeah, there've been other things going on, but that's it for tonight. Yeah.
Awesome, and I would say the same thing. The only thing I would comment to, I'm going to go back to the gala, wasn't that video at the beginning just so cute? With the administrators?
Will that be up on our website, or is it on their website?
Well, they put it on theirs, but I'd like to
Things
put it
that you-
on our
I
front,
know,
our
so
front page, because that
funny.
was just so cute. And again, that was a lot of, and it's just, again, the spirit of that group, I mean, and they didn't even have to, force us or say, you can throw paper on the bus. I mean, we were just doing it. We were just-
a video of
when
all
they
the
gave me
administrators.
that game to play, I don't know, I had just so much fun. with that iPad, oh my gosh, that was such fun. But anyway, it was just, yeah, it was a great evening all the way around. Anything else from you?
No.
Yeah, you were there too, and it was
Yes.
lovely. Lovely picture of you and your wife, yes, that I saw. Yeah, it was great.
And that's another great thing to see, that the administrative team
All the
coming out for that.
Everyone was there.
Town manager
Every
was there
A
administrator.
lot of
too.
the Board of Selectmen and then.
Board of Selectmen
Yeah.
members,
Tony,
yeah, Tony
Town
and
manager
Michael.
and assistant town manager.
And
were
their spouses as well.
there. Yep.
Yes.
So it was a
And
great.
Yolanda and
town.
Steve Mitchell,
Yeah.
I mean, it
And I know we
was.
do it all the time, but Paul Carpenter worked the whole night.
That's
The
right,
whole
he
night.
was up
And I think
there.
my wife ended up dating his wife, and
This dating thing, it's
I think
and I
you're
think she had a
absolutely
great
right.
very
time.
well.
Community
Well, thank you to
Okay.
everybody.
So,
Rich,
shall we?
did you have anything you wanted to add?
So, no.
Okay.
So, shall we move? I move to go into executive session to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with the AEA and to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union employees and not to reconvene in open session.
Second.
Okay.
All right. Marcia,
Gina?
you can take that one. Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Marcia, yes. Kathy?
Yes.
Yes. Good night.